want to watch you. They want to track you. They want to control you. But fear not, brave outlaws of the digital frontier, for in episode 8 of season 2 of the Outlaw Crypto Podcast, we are welcoming the one, the only, the unstoppable privacy warrior, Xenu, the Monero sorcerer, the anti-Moonboy oracle, the digital insurgent who has been striking fear into the hearts of the Panopticon puppet masters for years. Xenu is no ordinary podcaster. No! He is the mad scientist of Monero, the technical wizard behind anti-Moonboy news, and the attack of the poison outputs exposés. The information he unveils, the secrets he unearths, too dangerous for the weak-willed, too incendiary for the brainwashed sheeple, sleepwalking into their financial servitude. While the spineless crypto influencers beg for scraps at the feet of the surveillance state-approved blockchains, Xenu laughs in the face of the totalitarian AI-run financial prison and forges the tools of resistance deep in the cryptographic shadows. Bitcoin, tracked, Ethereum, corrupt the entire financial system. A nightmare panopticon. But Xenu saw through it all and devoted himself to Monero, the last true bastion of financial freedom, the shield against chain analysis vultures, the silent assassin of transaction traceability. He has sounded the alarm. The governments, the corporations, the digital oligarchs want to enslave you in a dystopian financial system where privacy is dead, where your every move is logged, categorized, and weaponized against you. But with Monero, Xenu fights back harder, faster, smarter than the AI tyrants ever anticipated. Ring signatures, stealth addresses, deniability, anonymity, fungibility, the unstoppable march of freedom. While the techno-tyrants push for their CBDCs, their KYC prisons, their chain tracing algorithms, Xenu builds the Monero revolution, broadcasting his knowledge like a high-frequency signal of defiance, using the anti-Moonboy channel to arm the people with the truth. In this earth-shattering episode, we'll uncover the dark reality of blockchain surveillance, the lies of the privacy-optional chains, and the glorious mission of the Monero resistance. Xenu will expose the corrupt cryptos, reveal the most dangerous misconceptions about financial privacy, and teach you how to escape the tracking grid before it's too late. This is the episode they don't want you to hear. The episode that will wake the sleeping, arm the rebels, and terrify the corrupt overlords. Monero isn't just a coin, it's a weapon of freedom, and Xenu is here to wield it like a flaming sword against the digital chains of oppression. So tune in, open your mind, and prepare for the truth, because once you hear what Xenu has to say, there's no going back.
All right, we got chainsaws in the background. We're back with another episode of the Outlaw Crypto Podcast. I'm your host, Paranoia Machinery, and I'm very, very happy to welcome Xenu to the show, the anti-Moonboy himself. Xenu, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is cool.
Yeah, I haven't done a Monero episode in a minute, so I'm super stoked to have a Monero guy on the show so we could do a Monero episode.
Awesome. Yeah. It's always good to talk about Monero. Stay on top of things in this crazy world we're in.
Indeed. So how do you see things right now with Bitcoin crashing, the government maybe starting a stable coin reserve instead of a Bitcoin reserve, the altcoin market just plummeting into the red, and Monero staying relatively stable?
Yeah, I guess the BTC ratio looks pretty okay right now, all things considered. I mean, like a year or two ago, we didn't bend the knee to Binance or any of these centralized exchanges. And, look what happened. People are using Monero and trusting it because of that. It's kind of had like a bit of a Streisand effect, if anything. Yeah, I mean, regarding the Bitcoin and the strategic reserve meme, yeah, I mean, I've been calling this out now for the past couple months. This whole Bitcoin strategic reserve is not going to pass. It's a scam. The government is already extremely up to their eyeballs in debt. So they're not going to be spending billions of dollars a month buying Bitcoin. It's just some moon boy fantasy that it's a grift, really, is what it is. And instead we had a bit of a bait and switch. I've only listened to the first 40 minutes of Senator Lummis's inaugural crypto asset
That's much more than
commit.
I've listened to.
Oh, yeah, it's hard to listen to. I'm doing it for my viewers, I guess. I'm taking a bullet. It's brutal. But yeah, the whole thing, it's not even about Bitcoin. They're talking about stable coins. It's basically what they've decided to do is rebrand CBDCs as stable coins. That's the bait and switch that they've done, where on the first day of Trump's presidency, or the second day, I forget, he had the executive order for on the executive order, it was like, we're not going to have any issuance of CBDCs, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that's good, golf clap, right? And
Yes.
then like now we're seeing like, oh, actually they're just doing stable coins instead. And like they have all this I haven't read the legislation yet, but there's multiple ones they have coming out. I think one's called like Genius, I think.
There's like a
There's
Bank
another.
of America one I saw too, like just yesterday or something on Twitter.
Yeah, yeah. So I think what they're going to be doing is they're going to actually be working with already existing stable coins, and that's how they're getting their foot in the door for this type of controlled asset. So yeah, I mean, there's that. That's ongoing. And yeah, the crash. I mean, I think it's kind of long overdue, because like, I mean, I don't really think. I think everything's overvalued as it is. I'm relatively bearish compared to most people, but I think probably what triggered it is this whole Bybit situation, which is a huge deal. Like, it's not something to sweep under the rug. It's actually like a very big situation that we're going to be talking about for a while, and this is probably triggered the sell off because it's kind of scaring a lot of people who, I guess, just trust exchanges. I don't know. So anyway, a lot of people are selling, and I don't. I think it's going to rally back up at some point, but I don't really foresee Bitcoin going that much higher than it already has gone. And
I'm kind of bearish, and I personally think we've
it's
topped as far as like Bitcoin goes. With the Bybit thing, though, I want to talk about that because I just watched your video last night, the one you made about how they're going to use that to kind of like phase out these swappers and
yeah.
non KYC, like peer to peer exchanges and stuff like that. So I kind of want to get you to expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, to acquire Monero now, what most people are doing is they're using these coin swap services, either through integrated into a wallet, such as Cake Wallet, for example. That's probably the most used. But you also have like websites like Truckador.
Yeah, Trocador is my
And
favorite. That's what I've been using a lot.
yeah, the guy who runs that website is really cool. He's very forward thinking, and yeah, I mean, they've been doing a great job of always kind of sticking to their principles, right? The problem though is these sites, I don't think they're going to exist that much longer. The issue being they're non KYC, right? So like the government, here's the thing. All right, we got to look at it from the government's perspective, because they're greedy vultures. Okay, so from the government's perspective, they want complete control over everything, right? So they look at non KYC and they're like, why does this exist? Like, only terrorists are going to use that, right? Or privacy advocates. And that's to them, that's the same thing, right?
Yeah, I
So
would
they're
agree.
yeah, so they're looking at that and they're like, well, we gotta get rid of this. The North Koreans are using it. Oh, well, maybe the Russians can use this too. Oh my gosh. And like, that's how they're gonna go after these sites. So I mean, I'm looking at the Bybit hack, and I know people are talking about Ethereum rollback. Whatever. I could care. I could not care less. It's whatever. But I'm looking at it and thinking, okay, how is the government going to use this to, further get what they want, right? And from my point of view, they're probably going to say, hey, these North Koreans are going to these non KYC websites, and they're getting Bitcoin in return, or Monero in cases, or Dogecoin. I think they're swapping into a bunch of different crap. Like they're getting all these different cryptocurrencies, and we can't stop them. Like, we want to stop them. etc. So what they're doing right now is they're actually contacting all these CoinSwap websites. I saw a tweet yesterday about this where they reached out to numerous CoinSwap services. I don't have it in front of me, but
Did you see the XCH one?
yeah, that one
It was
they
hilarious.
I mean, because it's non KYC, right? So they are 100% going to get subpoenaed. Like I can definitely see them like being like brought in front of a court in a similar vein as what we've seen with Samurai Wall and saying, hey, you knowingly were giving Bitcoin to North Korea and these hackers. Why were you doing that? That's illegal. You were facilitating these transactions.
Yeah, you're like violating international sanctions and shit.
Exactly. And like the thing is, this is on the clear net, right? So like this is very easily stoppable. And I just it's kind of wild that these websites still exist, and I think they're going to get cracked down on just based on everything I'm seeing right now with how the government is looking at cryptocurrency.
What about like, okay, remember when FTX got hacked and we saw like all that fallout where like Three Arrows Capital went down, and then those
Oh,
lending
like a
sites like Celsius, like a bunch of
yeah,
those went down because they were all like kind of like loaning Bitcoin and stuff back and forth to each other, and it kind of created this like free fall with all these
yep,
companies after FTX got hacked. I
yeah,
didn't really
contagion.
see,
Yeah.
yeah, that happened yet with Bybit. Do you think we're going to see some sort of fallout where like these companies have been over leveraged and like lending, Bitcoin that they shouldn't have lent out to each other, and we're going to see that happen?
Yeah, I haven't even thought of that. It's possible. I don't know. I don't even really know who owns Bybit. Like the
They're
thing is,
from Dubai. They're based in Dubai, so I imagine like some rich like Emirati or
yeah.
something.
Well, it from everything I've read, it seems like people are still able to like withdraw from there. I don't think these guys. I mean, it's a centralized exchange. It's probably shady. I'm sure they're like, screwing around with the books. Who the heck knows? That's an interesting thought, though. I haven't considered that. It's definitely possible, and that's probably working into this dump. I mean, I haven't even looked at the price of Bitcoin today. What's it at right now?
I haven't looked at it either, but let me check. Hold on. Right
Yeah.
now, it's at 85,903.
Okay, that's not that bad. Yeah. I mean these pullbacks, like it's pretty common to have these happen during these bull runs, right? You got to like trim off some at least some of this like overbought crap, right? But yeah, I don't know. The FTX thing, like that was like really shady over leveraged stuff though. I mean, they were like I mean, I didn't look too deep into it, but like everything I was reading was like they were just like basically a Ponzi scheme. I don't think this is as bad as that. I think this is just an exchange that got hacked, and it seems like they have reserves.
Yeah, they did have some reserves, and then it seems like the industry is like more prepared this time around, I guess, because like when they did get hacked, they were able like in the same day to get like loans from other exchanges for Ethereum, to cover the
Yeah.
withdrawals and stuff. And like the guy went on the live stream, and even though all the customers were spooked and processing withdrawals all at once, like they were able to meet like 99.5% of the withdrawals like within the first, I don't know, like 24 or 48 hours or something like that.
Yeah, it's actually pretty impressive, to be honest. I'm surprised they were able to pull that off. I mean, this is the largest hack in history.
Yeah,
Like,
they're the second biggest exchange though after Binance, so
are
they
they
do have
really?
deep
Oh.
pockets. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure yeah, the other exchanges probably stepped up too. They don't want it to spread to their, exchanges. So, yeah, that makes sense.
So what do you think about this? Like the hackers, like, okay, they're gonna crack down on these swappers, these no KYC exchanges. But it seems like these hackers, like if you believe they're North Korean, I'm kind of skeptical about that. I kind of think it's maybe Western intelligence that's doing it, and they're just blaming North Korea. But when they launder their money from these hacks, like they've hacked several different exchanges, and they always go to like these Chinese exchanges like Huobi and stuff like that, where they can just like sell the Bitcoin. And even
Mhm.
though those exchanges supposedly have like KYC and like compliance stuff in place, like these hackers seem to have no problem dumping their stolen Bitcoin on these Chinese exchanges. So even if they take out like these swappers, like I really don't think that's going to stop like cyber criminals from being able to convert their stolen crypto into
Oh
cash.
yeah, there's always going to be ways to like launder money. Like it's like you put out one fire, like three more appear, sort of situation. I'm looking at it more from the perspective of the layman, right? Like the average person. Like if you're like a sophisticated criminal enterprise, like you're gonna figure out situations of like laundering money, whether it's through selling like TVs or sneakers or whatever, or like I was reading about the cartels and how they're laundering like their money and for the most part like they're not really using the cryptocurrency yet. There have been some situations where they've used stable coins, but like yeah, they deal with the Chinese and like they have these like convoluted ways of like sending money directly through this like weird foreign loophole where like Chinese people can send money back home without anyone like even looking at the money. I forgot what it's called. I should probably pull the article up, but yeah, like there's always going to be ways to like launder money. And the bigger issue though is like when you have different jurisdictions, like how can you overrule those jurisdictions from like the United States, right? This is actually what's happening in the Bitcoin fog case, where are you familiar with the Bitcoin fog case?
Yeah, I remember the guy, like, he had, like, a mixer that he, like, advertised on, like, dark web, like, blogs and stuff to, like, use for
Yeah.
dark web illicit funds, basically.
Yeah, so basically, what happened was the reason he's being tried in the United States is because federal agents sent him a transaction of Bitcoin, and like it was like they sent him a message to like, hey, we're using this to like to buy drugs or something. He never even responded to the message, but because they sent him that Bitcoin, that was enough of a reason for them to arrest him and then extradite him to the United States.
Didn't they use some sort of, like, transaction history of his to try to, like, imply that he was the owner, but that's, like, not even proven that he had anything to do with running it? Like, he might have just been a
Yes,
user that they
correct.
suspected of being the guy running it?
Correct, yeah. Like the chain analysis um blockchain documents were like completely inaccurate. They were like argued against in court for being inaccurate, and yet it didn't really even matter. Like the case is insane if you like look into it. Like it's a complete farce, really. But yeah, they like the point though I was trying to make is like the rules of like how to even arrest somebody are like there's like no rules. Like they're the governments are just making stuff up as they're going, right? So when it
And then
comes
they're
to these,
relying on methodology that can't be independently verified.
absolutely yes. And so yeah, when it comes to these North Korean guys, like yeah, they're probably going to be able to like launder the money for whatever, and I'm sure they're going to be able to figure something out. Because like America has adversaries, and like they'll just go to these other countries and say, hey, we got some Bitcoin, and they'll wash it and like coin join and like then it'll be fine again. I'm sure they'll be able to launder it.
Yeah, me too. You're a guy that's like studied privacy as a Monero guy that's pretty knowledgeable, like on a technical level. Like, how accurate do you think chain analysis or like these blockchain surveillance technologies really are? Because like I've seen stuff like where Samurai, like through OXT, was like able to like unwind like a Wasabi coin join, right? And then I've seen stuff like this Bitcoin fog case where it looks like they're operating on complete pseudoscience and they're just like making shit up and trying to like frame people. So like how accurate do you think this technology really is in terms of like tracing transactions?
Yeah, I mean, we saw the other day. Oh, man, I'm gonna get it wrong. It was one of these hacks that had happened, or it might have been ransomware. Anyways, it was like they had it valued at $1 billion that this person had stolen. Chainalysis had it valued, and then they sent out a revision later, and they're like, "Oh, actually, it was only $600 million." they, were, they were. I'm not even joking. They
It's a pretty
literally
big
they were like,
margin of
"Oh,
error.
we're a little off, guys." Like, what? We were that off? And yes, they were that off, and yet they were literally mentioned at Capitol Hill yesterday. Like they're like the government's main, main weapon in this. It's no accuracy. I mean, not really at all. It's kind of weird. Like when it comes to tracing transactions, there's a lot of false positives it's not as straightforward as going from point A to point B. Now, obviously, if you're looking at like a basic Bitcoin transaction graph, it's pretty obvious, right? However, you could make the argument that I wasn't the one sending those transactions, and it's difficult to actually prove that. Actually, Arctic Mine, he's brought this up where he, in his opinion, these Bitcoin transaction graphs are useless. That's what he thinks. I'm more of the opinion that it doesn't even really matter if it's good or bad. The government's just going to use it anyway, right? They're just going to say, "Oh, it's accurate," even though it's really not that accurate.
I mean, DNA
Um,
is like that because like when
yeah,
DNA technology came out, like it's not as accurate as they pretend it is, and like people have been wrongfully convicted through DNA, but
yep.
like everybody like thinks that DNA is like, oh, if they got a match for DNA, it's like totally conclusive. There's no denying it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again with this, that Bitcoin fog case, like they had a presentation showing that they completely disagreed with Chainalysis's findings, and it just didn't really even matter. You're having different interpretations of what these transaction graphs are, what they mean, like who's sending who to what. It's very, very complicated stuff. It's all statistical. It is a pseudoscience, as you mentioned, right? It's mostly crap. So if I had to put I don't know if I could put a percentage on it, like the accuracy of that. I think it depends on the case, right? Like, so for like a basic case where someone is sending something to somebody else, uh, a lot of it is like kind of murky. But what bolsters the case is metadata that they're leaving behind, or an attachment to a KYC exchange.
Mhm.
That metadata, in my opinion, is far, far more important than whatever's going on the blockchain, because that metadata is like based in reality, right? I'm actually releasing a video today where I'm going to kind of summarize the recent Monero ring signature stuff, and I'm just going to say, listen, like,
Yeah, I want to talk about OPSI too, but sorry
yeah,
to
we'll
interrupt.
get to
Yeah.
that, sure. Yeah, but like the thing is, like, yeah, the ring signature, excuse me, the ring signature stuff is bad, but like the KYC stuff is way worse. Like, if you cut the KYC out, you don't even really have to worry about the ring signature stuff. It's similar with Bitcoin. Like, if you get Bitcoin non KYC, which you can do, there are ways to do it, like through BISC, for example. If you can get Bitcoin non KYC, you're actually like pretty good. Like you can use Bitcoin privately, especially when we used to have Samurai Wallet. It was actually like pretty easy to use. But yeah, it's again, it's hard to put like a percentage of like how accurate it is. I would say though that, like, for the most part, these blockchain surveillance companies are talking out of their butts. They really have no idea what they're doing, and they're kind of just like eating up these this dinosaur money coming in from these boomers at Capitol Hill.
And what about like when we see these stories where they claim they like trace Monero, but it's really somebody was using Bitcoin and then swapped to Monero and then swapped
Yeah.
back out and they did like a timing attack. Like if they're able to trace these like transparent coins like through that kind of obfuscation, like I mean, is that fake? Like, are they just making that shit up, or do you think they do have like a
No.
certain
So
capability to trace these transparent chains?
Well, it's a case by case basis. So I can go through one of the cases. One was incognito market, and I have a video on this one on my channel as well, where basically this guy, he was already known. Okay, the feds already had him pinned for whatever reason. I think the reason was because he was using a server that was actually a honeypot. I'm like, they didn't say that, but like it seems kind of obvious because they already like knew who this guy was. And then for 2 years, they just watched him. Like, they were just observing him, and they had his server with his Bitcoin wallet attached to this darknet website, so they could see all the Bitcoin transactions going into it. He
Yeah.
also had a Monero wallet on that server too, but the Bitcoin, they can see that, right? And so literally they were following that Bitcoin, going to a CoinSwap service into Monero, and then immediately he would then send that Monero he received from that CoinSwap service to the exchange. And he would do this repeatedly. And so they're just following the timing of it. Like, from point A to point B to point C, it was almost always the exact amounts, always followed each other. Like that, you don't even need Monero privacy. Like, it's irrelevant. Like, they're just following him from point A to point B. They already have him doxxed. They're observing him. And like, there's also other ways they were tying him to the enterprise too. Like, he purchased the website with his Docs Bitcoin wallet. Like, he purchased a ClearNet website with that Bitcoin. And he also purchased with that Bitcoin a website with his email address. Like, it was all like linked together. Like, he was like already known. So like, because of that, all that metadata lying around, I think, yeah, you could make a pretty good argument that it was him. Like, a very, very good argument. And I think he's cooked personally.
Okay. But then like when we see people that are using like, I don't know, like coin joins like Samurai
Yeah.
or that are following like best practices for OPSEC, like as laid out in the Darknet Bible or whatever. Like you see people like that get busted and like do you think they're manufacturing like evidence against these people?
I'm not sure I follow the question
Like if
that
they're
well.
more careful and they're not as sloppy, they're not leaving metadata, they're
Yeah,
trying to
you
use,
can.
Bitcoin in an anonymous way and
Yeah.
use Monero in a way that they're not like linking to their, KYC exchange or whatever.
Yeah, my whole take on this is like, privacy is not an on or an off switch. It's a very fluid situation, and it's like, depending on who you are and how like heightened your OPSEC needs to be, the game changes like completely. Like, in my opinion, you can use Bitcoin privately.
Yeah.
100%. You can use Lightning Network privately. Yeah, it's crazy. You can use Dogecoin privately. Like, you can use all these cryptocurrencies privately. However, if you are being targeted, yeah, then you have to like really know what you're doing. Now with CoinJoin, as far as I studied it, it worked pretty darn well. Like, it did leave I guess some metadata that you use CoinJoin, but you were separating yourself from the original output that was, or unspent output that was going into the whirlpool. And because of that, you were pretty much okay. But I guess you could argue like timing analysis could be used against you. I don't know if there was ever a case with that had happened with Samurai wallet being
Samurai's
used.
coin join worked well because like
Yeah.
Wasabi's was reusing addresses and then with Join Market because like the way it's set up with like a maker taker model, like they can follow those fees and
Mm.
like kind of unwind the coin join. So like I think Samurai's coin join like zero link worked well, whereas like the other two implementations that are still around I don't have as much confidence in.
Agreed. Yeah, that's, and also just the way Samurai Wallet carried themselves, where they were very forward thinking and aggressive and very passionate with the cypherpunk idealism. I just trusted them way more than, Wasabi and Join Market was the other one. Yeah, I don't even
Yeah.
know. They're honestly, they're totally irrelevant. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, a lot of these like scam mixing services, even beyond that, they can just be like trivially rewound. Like, there's like ways you can like look at them, and chain analysis has a pretty good idea that they are able to do that. But it's a case by case basis. Like, I can't. It's kind of hard for me to give like a broad statement on that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah. I was just curious as to your opinion
yeah,
on it because like we see things like where they will like trace like Bitcoin like flawlessly or they say
yeah,
right, and then we
yeah,
see things like with the Bitcoin fog case where you're just like what, like that doesn't even make sense. Like
yeah.
let us see your code so we can like independently verify that it actually works the way you say it does, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, they haven't published their code. Like, it's kind of absurd if you really think about it. And they haven't published, or they haven't like tried anybody for Monero based on ring signature tracing. I have not seen anything about that ever. Um, and I think a part of that reason is because the plausible deniability really gets in the way. Makes it really hard for them to like say like, we know for sure. With the Bitcoin stuff, because they're just following hops, I think it's a lot easier for them to make the case.
Yeah, I would say that I've never seen a case where somebody's been arrested for only using Monero. Like every single case I've seen where like they claim to have traced Monero or like arrested somebody that's using Monero, it's always involved like a transparent blockchain
Yeah.
as well. So, uh, but with the OPSEAD thing that came out this week, Rucknium put out a report about how the ring signatures are worse than everybody anticipated. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it is unfortunate. Like, the thing is, we already knew ring signatures sucked, so it's not like shocking news. It is unfortunate though, because they suck worse than we thought. And so basically what Rucknium is saying, his report, I haven't read the whole thing. I've kind of read bits and pieces of it. But basically what he's saying is it's comparable to like going to bet on a horse race, and the fastest horse has a 1 in 4 chance of winning. That's kind of like what this is, where like you can look at a transaction and say, I have a 25% chance of picking the correct spend, which is obviously not good, but like it's still a probability, right? It's still a statistical thing. So it's not like a dagger, right? And it's honestly debatable if it even would really even work for chain analysis. The problem, though, is that this can be compounded with all the other ways you can attack Monero. So you can compound this, for example, with the co-spend heuristic, which essentially means you're spending multiple outputs at the same time with poison outputs. So, when you send a Monero transaction, you're using a spend that's in your wallet. Well, if you are spending more than that one spend, you have to send the other spends in your wallet, right? So then that means you'll have more than one ring signature. And if more than one ring signature has a poison output inside of it, that just increases the chances that you're the person sending that transaction. So if you are sending two ring signatures and both those ring signatures have a poison output, and on top of that, you throw on Rucknium's, formula, and then eliminates all the decoys, and both those poison outputs are still, visible on your, blockchain examiner, then you'll say, this increases the odds even more that this is the person that we're looking at. So it's kind of like a bad thing from a perspective that these tools can be used. And what's even worse is it's possible there's even worse statistical ways of like drawing these conclusions. Maybe Rucknium's just one guy. What if they got like a whole team of Asians like chained in a freaking basement, tapping away on keyboards all day trying to break Monero? I don't know what they're doing, right? They could probably find an even better way to figure out what the correct spend is in the ring signature based on whatever probability. So it's a problem, not the end of the world though. I will have a video on this soon, just because I know a lot of people are kind of scared, but it's really not too big of a deal.
Do you think they're going to implement some sort of short-term fix, like in the very near future, for ring signatures until we get full chain membership proofs, like later?
Yeah, so there actually is. We could implement a short-term fix. So basically, this is what I'm endorsing. I don't know if it's going to happen though. I think it still needs to be debated. We're still kind of studying this research that's been disclosed. A lot of people weren't aware of it. I mean, I'm pretty sure all the developers have been internally talking about it. Yeah. So what you can do, there's two things you can do. The first thing is you can implement the OSPEAD technique that Rucknium has published. This would bring ring signatures back to the 1 in 16 chance of picking the correct spend. That sounds pretty good to me. I think it's already been pretty much done. It just needs to be like reviewed, I think, and then it could be implemented. The second thing is Jeffro. He is one of the developers. He would eliminate Coinbase spends from ring signatures. And the problem is in ring signatures, a lot of them include like one or two P2 pool spends. And these are just, you can pretty much just toss out immediately because they're usually only like a couple cents worth of Monero. And if you're sending Monero, you're probably not sending just a couple cents, right? So you can usually just, you can usually just remove those. So that would just essentially make it so your ring signature will not include Coinbase spends, which obviously is a good thing. So those two things can be implemented. That code already is written, by the way. It's been approved. Like it could be added. The only thing though is we would need to hard fork. Now, the debate here is that if you hard fork, it's going to be troubling in the short term because people are not going to update and everything's going to be break. Usage is going to take a hit, etc. But the counter argument is that this is going to like jolt the network and kind of like remind people, hey, we're still here. And by the way, like a year from now, we're going to have full chain membership proofs. So kind of thing, right? So it's kind of like reminding people that Monero is updating, and the people who need Monero they're going to update, right? If you need Monero, you're going to update. So it's not like they're going to like lag behind or anything. And it's just The only issue really is like exchanges. Like exchanges being slow is a thing.
Yeah.
They're honestly like even if you give them like all this time in advance, it takes them forever to update their wallets. So that's like the only issue really. But I mean, in my opinion, short term, I think it's a great idea just because it'll help, make things a little more relaxed, for the short term, and it gives us more time to really make sure full chain membership proofs is good because that's a huge update, right? That's a really a massive, massive update for Monero. So taking our time on that, in my opinion, is ideal.
The full chain membership proofs thing is actually moving way faster than I initially expected. Like I thought it would take like 2 years or something. And I just watched like the Monero Talk interview with that guy Justin that Doug did recently. That's doing like the implementation of
Uh,
full chain membership proofs. Like Luke, I guess, like wrote the libraries and like the like code for it, but like another guy is like actually implementing it into the code base.
oh wow,
And he was saying like that he expects it to be ready like by the end of the year of
oh
this
wow.
year. So like that's super quick. Like I thought we'd be waiting like until the end of next year.
Yeah, and I mean that's going to come up into the debate as well. Like, it might not even be worth it to do it if full chain membership proofs are going to be out, like say by December. Maybe we'll just weather the storm in the time being. So yeah, it's kind of hard to say though because like if you hedge on that and then an audit comes back and oh there has to be some changes, then you might have to wait for like another 6 months, right? So
Yeah.
it's a tricky game, and it's something that really over the next like month or two it will be debated. People are going to be talking about it. I By the way, they will be making most likely a Get Monero blog post on it. I think I rattled some cages on Twitter the other day when I was talking about how no one was talking about OSPEAD. I got mad about it. Anyway, they are going to be making a blog post. I think they're going to do like a coordinated like disclosure thing to kind of like talk about it. And I think that's going to get people talking. And yeah, we'll see if we decide to do a short term solution. Um, a lot of it, yeah, will come down to whether or not full chain membership proofs will be here. And by end of year, it probably would be worth it just to wait.
Yeah, I mean, I forget his name. I think it's like Justin Burmis or something like.
Berman.
Yeah, Berman.
Yeah,
Okay, that guy.
yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, he was saying like he would be disappointed if it's not like implemented by the end of the year. So, like
Hmm.
he seemed really really optimistic about it. So then Luke was talking about how the audits, like he did a post on Twitter recently about the audits, like have been going very very well.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm optimistic about full chain membership proofs, but I think 1 in 4 is not good odds. Like as far as like them being able to create heuristics to try to track Monero. Like 1 in 16 is much better.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's all statistical, and this is why the point really that I'm really trying to hammer to people is if this is concerning to you, don't use centralized exchanges. Because if you don't use centralized exchanges, this can't really impact you. Chain analysis, they need a foot in the door. Okay. That's what a KYC exchange is. It's basically a TSA checkpoint. You're going through, they're putting their finger in your butthole. They're doing, you know what I mean? They're fucking doing everything to like get all this information on you. And then from that, they can like observe what you're doing after and what's coming into your exchange wallet. And that metadata is, it's really priceless to them. So if you take that out of the equation, how can they use a poison output against you? It's very, very difficult. Other than, I guess, an EAE attack, if you're like trying to figure out who like say if someone is selling drugs on the dark net, and someone's doing like drop buys on them, like they're buying, I don't know, fentanyl or whatever. Um, and then that person were to take that bunch of Monero and just send it right to a KYC exchange, an EAE attack could still work, right? So that could still happen. But if you are just a regular person, just using Monero for privacy, right? You're going to be fine. So again, it comes down to like what your OPSEC is. Like if you're like a political a dissident, or like, the government hates you because you like privacy, then yeah, just don't use KYC, and then you're gonna feel so much more comfortable.
I know you said that you think that swappers are on their way out, but these swappers, like, even though they don't require KYC, I'm sure they're working with these chain surveillance firms and like providing like the TXOs that they're processing like through their exchanges. Do you feel that like them knowing those TXOs that could show up later as like a decoy and like a ring signature could also be like a attack vector?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's what's happening right now. Basically, every single CoinSwap site has a privacy policy, and it literally says, "Yeah, we keep your transaction data." Like pretty much every single one. Um, yeah, it's already the meta is really what law enforcement and chain analysis is doing, is they're going to these sites and saying, "Hey, give us your data." And if it's like an actual like legal case, they'll just subpoena them and they'll get that data. So I mean, what I think is going to happen though is like these sites that are non KYC, they're just going to make them become KYC because it makes their job easier, and it brings the market more and more towards this like regulated, pile of crap that the government wants. I just really would be surprised if like 10 years from now there's still sites like Truckador where you can anonymously swap cryptocurrency. It just seems like it just doesn't seem like it's on the government's agenda to allow that to happen.
Yeah, I would say like with if you read like the FATF, like the Financial Action Task Force, like they're
Yeah.
like an unelected body that like um gives like suggestions to different jurisdictions on what kind of regulations they want to see like implemented globally, right? Like to stop financing terrorism and money laundering and that kind of thing, right? So like if you read like their 2020 report or 2019 report or whatever, where they lay out like what a virtual asset service provider is, like basically they're adding the travel rule to everything. I think it's only a matter of time as well that before they implement like full KYC and like transaction reporting on these KYC free like swappers and exchanges. Do you think we'll see sites like that like pop up on the dark web and be, like cowboy sites that don't comply with any regulations?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're already seeing that with like Haveno and Bisq that already exist, and that they're decentralized too, so they can't even be attacked really. Well, I guess they can be attacked, but anyway, like I'm saying more like there's no like single person that can be attacked, right? I do think yeah that would probably start to happen more. I don't think those sites are as like you can access uh, a bunch of these swap sites through Tor already, so I'm sure that they would just full on go on tour. But again, you run into issues where like a lot of these people are already known by law enforcement because again, they get subpoenaed all the time, right?
Yeah.
So like they'll just be like, dude, you're just running a hidden service. We know what you're doing, like kind of thing. So yeah, I do think those sites would start to pop up. Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And then like with Havino or like Sarai, which is coming soon,
Yeah.
do you think that they will try to like we're seeing things where they're saying like, oh, like like non-custodial wallets are going to have to like implement KYC and stuff, and like exchanges like to withdraw, like they want to know like that you signed a transaction to prove that you own this wallet or whatever. Like, do you think that they're going to try to implement these draconian regulations onto decentralized projects like this?
Well, I don't think they can do it to. Well, if if it's a decentralized project, I'm not sure how they would be able to do that. But like, I mean, absolutely, like that's what they're trying to do with like centralized services for sure. They're trying to get rid of custodial or non-custodial wallets. They want custodial only, and they want to make sure they know where everything's going, right? So the whole point of having like decentralized platforms is like there's no head that they can cut off. Like it's everyone's like working together on it, right? So yeah, I don't really think they could do anything. I mean, if they really want to go hard, I guess they could like start, taking down the repositories, arresting developers, things like that. That could happen.
I mean, that's
Um,
not outside of their like
no,
uh
it's not.
modus operandi, because like look, they've arrested the Tornado Cash guys, the Samurai guys,
Yeah.
the Bitcoin Fog guys. So like people that create these tools are definitely a target, like if they really, really want to like impose their will on something that is resistant to that.
Yeah, I think the one distinction though is the concept that Samurai Wallet was making money from this. And Tornado Cash, they were making a profit from this through like the fees. Actually, I don't know. I don't actually know how Tornado Cash works. So
They
let me
did
let
they
me
did make some money off of it
Oh,
because
they
they're
did. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I never used it, but I know Samurai Wallet, they were getting like a little bit. And so what the government's saying is like by them being aware that people were using this for darknet services, they were a part of this crime, like which is absurd because they don't know like who is doing the crime, right? They're just operating a service and people are using it. Like it's a ridiculous argument. But for something that's decentralized, like I don't think, yeah, like they wouldn't like Luke wouldn't be making like, money directly from each purchase, right? It's just kind of this self-propelling mechanism. So therefore, I don't know what you would do, but then again, yeah, the government could just make up laws, right? So they could just be like, no, you caused this, you go in jail now, kind of thing.
Yeah, and like it seems like they have like a double standard for sure because like I mean people, criminals use Google too, but you don't see
Yeah.
Google like developers getting arrested because somebody could potentially use like Google services for crime.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at like the people who are doing crimes, like most criminals are freaking idiots, okay? Like people are still like buying drugs on like Instagram. like I don't know why, but like people just or like Snapchat.
Telegram.
Do Yeah, yeah, like Telegram at least is a little better. Like but god, like it's some people out there are really really dumb. And I think people lose sight of that when we're talking about like people on the dark net where like you kind of get that image of the guy with the hood over his head his face is like all black, he's like on the terminal. No, they're not that at all. It's like fucking the mechanic down the street who like wants to get high. He just googles like how do I get by high need drug internet, how do I do this, like that's what he googles. And then like he somehow figures it out, right?
Without a VPN, like just Googling.
Yeah, he's on Google. He's logged in at the time too. He's logged into his Google. He's been using the same password since 99. Like it's just football. That's his password is just football one. Put a one there though. That makes it really difficult. Yeah, these guys they're not that smart. They the bar is getting higher to use these darknet sites because like they're trying to like really trim off the low hanging fruit, and that's why they're using Monero now. But it's still like it's not like they're not lead hackers, is what I'm trying to say.
Even with like sophisticated operators, like okay, like White House Market, right, is like the famous like exchange that retired because they made so much money and they were Monero
Yeah.
only, which kind of like really convinced a lot of people that were on the fence that Monero is really like the real deal, right? But like with Drug Hub, like former like White House market affiliated people started Drug Hub when White House retired, and then like I read all sorts of crazy stuff about Drug Hub having horrible OPSEC and making the most retarded decisions.
Hmm.
So like even though they're somewhat sophisticated, they were involved with like a successful darknet market that made so much money that they decided to retire, and then they started another one, because they were like the admin, not the owner or whatever.
Yep.
Like they're still not that sophisticated because they're making boneheaded OPSEC decisions that could eventually lead to trouble down the road.
Yeah, 100%. Like criminals, they're not these elite hacker boys. Some of them are. I mean, some criminals are like extremely intelligent. Like for example, I do not think that Mr. White, he was the admin of White House Market.
Okay.
I don't think he was involved with Drug Hub at all. I haven't looked into it in too much detail, but yeah, I did mention that in a on my Twitter, I think on my podcast as well. There was some weird stuff that happened with Drug Hub where they like leaked their IP. I think something happened like that, which was like obviously really bad OPSEC. They might be compromised for all we know. But yeah, I mean, it's this yeah, it's the same thing where it's just like these people they're not as intelligent as like what the media makes them out to be, I guess. you know.
Yeah. And then like with the chain analysis stuff, like if these guys are this sloppy when they're operating their dark web
Oh, I
enterprises.
actually I have a funny story to say before I forget. So I mentioned incognito market before.
Yeah,
Do you know about that admin?
the one that tried to blackmail everybody.
Okay, so he did that too. Yeah, but when
Yeah.
he extorted he extorted a bunch of criminals and now he's in federal prison. So he's having a lot of fun right now. but but this fucking kid, okay, he was actually like actually fairly active on Monero Twitter. He
Okay, yeah,
has
yeah, I do remember. I read
yeah,
something about that. Yeah, okay.
yeah, and this guy, I swear to God, he was actually teaching OPSEC classes on like I think it was like the St. Lucian Islands or something. And like there's literally pictures of him in front of a class teaching about chain analysis.
That's crazy.
Is that freaking wild? And the whole time, like the feds are watching this dude being like, this kid's crazy. Like we're about to arrest him. Like they're
Some of
just
his
watching.
posts were, like, kind of incriminating too, like, looking back,
Yeah.
like, at the time, I guess you wouldn't think, like, "Oh, this guy's a dark web admin or he runs a dark website," but, like, looking back, knowing that he did, like, you're
Yeah.
like, "Why the fuck would you post some shit like that?" Like,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, they're watching all of us for sure. We're all on lists. But, yeah, I mean, he was, like I had said, before, he was already being watched for, like, 2 years. So, like, they just collected all this data, built their case, and yeah. And I guarantee a lot of these, people operating these sites are like that, where the feds they figure out who they are, probably through illegal means, and then through parallel construction, they build their case, which is like a component of a lot of these investigations where, they do shady stuff that totally off the books, and then they like somehow figure out a way that, oh,
we
it's
can
this
build a
guy.
case with this somehow.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, yeah, parallel construction is crazy.
Yeah, it is, and I believe that should probably be illegal, right? Like, because 'cause they're using, like,
Oh
for
yeah.
instance, they're using, like, the NSA or whatever to, like, spy on, like, domestic citizens, which should not be happening. Or, I mean, I guess it happens. It's pretty commonplace, but it shouldn't have been happening, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, they get around it saying, terrorism or, but, yeah, no, I mean, they're with the NSA right now too. They're just like harvesting all this data, and then later on they're gonna like break into it with quantum computers.
Yeah.
Just see like what everyone's been browsing for the past like decade.
They
Yeah, it's
have
gonna be
that
fun.
the what is it? It's like the in Utah, it's like this huge, like, underground complex, like, that
Yeah,
they have, like, full of computers where they're just, like, hoovering up all the data of the internet,
yeah,
and
yeah, I know.
supposedly, like, they tap the undersea cables so you can't even, like, do anything about it.
Oh, really? Yeah, I mean that the NSA is just a giant blackmail operation. It's brilliant, really. I mean, if you got someone's internet history, you know everything about them. It's crazy. And yeah, I mean, and that's a whole rabbit hole talking about politics and stuff. But it's like the way all of these laws are being passed is it's enforced by these intelligence agencies who just like have dirt on people essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Alright, so I wanna change the subject a little bit since I
yeah,
got you here. You launched a YouTube channel called Anti-Moon Boy.
yep,
You have actually put out a shitload of content in a short period of time. Like, how long have you been doing the channel for? I remember when you launched it, and
yeah.
you were like, "Help me get to 100 subscribers."
I know. Yeah, I'm almost at like 500 now, and
Nice.
yeah, I think it was early November I launched it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so, like,
it's around there.
yeah.
Maybe October. Um, so yeah, I launched it. It was like fall. I launched it.
Why did you launch it?
Well, I was going to launch it actually like a year ago, but then I pussied out because I'm like, oh, I don't want to dox myself. I was a little pussy, and then yeah, I kind of came to the realization like, oh, I don't care if I get doxxed. Like I gotta help people. That's like way more important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the other reason too was like I'm just kind of like sick and tired of like moon boy culture. And there's a lot of people like me who are just like freaking bored of like just seeing like people talking about charts. They like want to get back down to like brass tacks, right? And so I see like this like little subculture evolving of people who want peer-to-peer digital cash as like on the forefront, who want to talk about using cryptocurrency as an act of protest, as an act of anti-censorship.
Yeah.
That's what got me here. I
That's
know
why I'm here.
yeah, that's why you're here.
Yeah.
A lot of people like that. And so I was like, you know what? I should start putting out content. Plus I like the sound of my voice. I think I'm a good educator. I know all about this, and I'm like, you know what? Screw it. If I get voice doxed, whatever, I don't care anymore. And so anyway, then I launched it back in November, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. I have been putting out a lot of content, and I'm keeping the fun and the gas. I'm gonna keep doing it until everyone talks about me.
Well, I for one really like your channel. I try to
Thank you.
watch your videos like whenever you put out a new one. I haven't seen them all obviously because you put out a lot, but
Yeah.
uh, I do regularly watch your content, and I really like it, man. Like I like how you're putting out like high quality like Monero content.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And for the listeners, yeah, I have right now 2 shows. One is called Attack of the Poison Outputs. That is it's about Monero and how to attack Monero. It's essentially a continuation of Breaking Monero, which a lot of people reference. And I know I haven't made it yet because people still bring up Breaking Monero when they talk about how to improve your OPSEC instead of my show. I'm gonna get there one day though. People are gonna recommend my show instead, but I haven't gotten there just yet. But anyways, I go into way more detail though, because I cover flooding attacks. Breaking Monero didn't even talk about flooding attacks, right?
Yeah.
I talk about metadata from KYC exchanges. Now I'm talking about nodes, which is a whole another topic. And I really just go into all the different ways that Monero can be attacked by chain analysis. To give you an example, Breaking Monero was made back in 2018. That was before Monero was even used on darknet markets. Long time ago. Yeah, long time ago. So a lot of stuff has changed. The meta has changed, and I am documenting that.
And
So I have
privacy in
that
general just constantly changes. Like you're
100
never done.
100%. And
Yeah.
that was another motivation too. Is like the game has totally changed. Like I need to put out something out there that people can point to that kind of shows that, right? So that's Attack of the Poison Outputs. If you want to iron out how you understand Monero, check that out. And I also now have a weekly podcast called Anti Moonboy News, which it wasn't really intended to be a podcast. I was kind of just putting out kind of like a weekly review of the news, but as time has passed, I kind of have turned it into like my commentary on the news as well. And so basically I have like a kind of like a main story each week, and then I talk about other stuff as well. I respond to super chats. And I'm targeting for that to be released once a week, and usually on Monday, and it's like a 30-minute review of the prior week is what I'm targeting. That's going to be on like podcast services soon, but right now it's on my YouTube channel as well as on Odyssey and Rumble. I have all the videos on there as well, and I will be having a website soon. I have the domain purchased. I already have the Hugo theme picked and everything. I just need to like sit down and spend like 3 hours like making all the posts for it. But that's going to be antimoonboy.com. This is breaking news, by the way, so I'm giving that to you.
Nice. Nice.
I haven't told anyone about this yet. Everything's purchased. I just have to like sit down and do it. So depending on when you listen to this, if it's a week from, so if it's sometime in like early March, the website probably exists. So,
All
uh,
right.
so yeah, there you go, antimoonboy.com.
You
So
heard it here first.
yeah, there you go.
And then you have another series that you're working on right now that I'm kind of like waiting for with
Yeah.
anticipation
Oh
called like
yeah.
darknet maximalism or something like that.
Darknet market maximalism. Yeah,
Yes.
that is
Tell us
that
about it.
yeah. So that is a project. It is actually going to be a manifesto. It is going to be a spoken word album. Essentially, I have album art that's been made. It is fire. I'm so excited. It's under wraps, so like I want to like post it right now, but I'm like, just wait, be patient, Xenu, be patient. But like the artwork is fire, and I'm gonna have merch for it too. People are gonna buy it. It's gonna be sick. But basically, it's probably gonna be like 10 to 12 chapters, and it's my manifesto on what cryptocurrency has become. And the thing is, when I say darknet market maximalism, I am not endorsing illicit activities. We're not endorsing, people selling fentanyl or whatever. I'm not endorsing that. Rather, I'm pointing out that the markets that actually depend on cryptocurrency are darknet markets. There are no other markets like it. Like if you got rid of cryptocurrency, darknet markets would no longer exist. And for me, that's a very powerful concept. And the thing is, while it may be like an edgy title, if you think about it, like the state, they look at a drug dealer and they see no difference between that and a privacy advocate, right?
Yeah.
So, like by framing it as darknet market maximalism, we are reframing cryptocurrency as a means of protest against the state, because that's really what cryptocurrency should be. So, darknet market maximalism will account for what cryptocurrency has become, how it's been corrupted by moon boys, and what we are, I guess, going forward. What can we do with that information? Can we do anything? Right? Is it inevitable that moon boys will take over projects? And that is what that project is about. And also, I talk about a lot of other things as well. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. First of all, I think like that crypto in general doesn't have, like in regulated markets, like it doesn't have a value proposition or use case. And then I think like right now with Monero like growing in popularity, a lot of people becoming disenfranchised with Bitcoin, like, freedom minded people, and then like coming into the Monero community, like we need to be very, very careful about how Monero community culture is maintained, so that we don't get these moon boys like destroying the project and the
Well,
culture.
I got bad news. They're already here. That's the sad part. And you see them on Twitter. Like I'm not going to call out names, but like I think this recent OSPEAD release is a good litmus test. Like if people are openly talking about it, retweeting about it, those are the real ones. People who are hand waving it away, right? Like why aren't
Yeah.
you confronting this right now? Like it's okay that there's vulnerabilities. These happen. Like for me, like I view that as someone who doesn't want their bags to get hurt, which is a problem.
I'm seeing
You know?
more and more like price posting too, which
Yeah.
I fucking hate that shit. Like that's
Yeah.
one of the things that bothers me the most about Bitcoin.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing is, so I talk about this too in Darknet Market Maximalism, where it's kind of like, a lot of people get fixated on like, oh, the upcoming full chain membership proofs is going to cause a big price bump. Oh, this is good. No one gives a shit. Okay, we know what's going to cause a price pump. Fucking Kanye West tweeting, "I want to fuck Monero Chan." That's what causes price pumps. We live in clown world. Okay, nothing. The technicals don't really fucking matter. Price pumps are actually based right now on like influencers like shilling them. That's it. Okay, and the reality though, and this is kind of the part that it does concern me, but it's just the reality, is that like Monero does have a lot of clout right now. It's building a lot of respect, and eventually you will have these like actual influencers start to kind of creep they're going to bury their talons, into Monero and start, sucking the blood out of it, just like they did with Bitcoin. I mean, I'm already seeing people kind of act like that, and I don't know if there's anything we can do other than gatekeep the shit out of it, which is, I guess, what I'm already doing. But yeah, we gotta like preserve the culture and just like really emphasize the concept of peer-to-peer digital cash, never bending the knee, drawing lines in the sand.
Yeah, and being as private as possible while we do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a pretentious thing. Like everyone is on a different stage in privacy. That's totally fine. Um, But if you're coming out about this as a means to get rich, solely to get rich, then you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
Like buying Monero as an investment, that's not the problem. Like those aren't necessarily moon boys. They can be, but like, if you buy Monero and like keep it in a cold storage wallet, I'm not saying like that's bad at all. The problem is when you are willing to cuck on your ideals for the sake of a price pump. That is the problem. And a lot of people in Bitcoin have done that, where they're like, "Oh, Trump coin," or like, "Oh, the Sailor, I love you, Sailor." Like, even though Michael Saylor literally yesterday was talking about, yeah, Bitcoin, we don't want to use it as a means of exchange. We just want to have it as a store of value, like
That
that kind of
to
thing.
me is like Monero is a good store of value. Like I think
Yeah.
historically you can say that, but like to me, like hoarding it and never spending hodl culture is like poison to a project. Like that's why Bitcoin died. People started seeing
Yeah.
number go up and hoarding and not using it because they didn't want to go out like Laszlo and spend 10,000 Bitcoin on some pizzas and then realize they spent $900 million or whatever it was. So like
Yeah.
for me, like the hoarding part of it is horrible. Like hodling and not using it is horrible. Like we need to totally counteract that. We need to create a culture around spending it and using it because like medium of exchange is the most important quality money can have.
100%. Yeah, I mean, you see this all the time where I mean, back in like late December, early January, you were seeing people who were like taking profits and Bitcoiners were bullying them. They're like, "Oh, it's going to go way higher. You don't get it. Like it's you got to trust the process. Buy as much as you can." You got Sailor who's saying like, "Buy get a second mortgage." Saying all this crap about like trying to put as much money as you can into Bitcoin, buy, and hold. And it's like these people, they like that's all happening, and then they wonder, huh? I wonder why Lightning Network is unpopular. Yeah, I wonder why. It's because you've been telling people for the past 5 years to just buy and hold Bitcoin, and so because of that, no one's really using it. It's still used for sure, but I shouldn't say no one is using it. People are absolutely still using Bitcoin, but like it could be used way more if people had that type of mindset. But the normie, the moon boy, really, this isn't on their agenda. They just want to get rich.
Yeah, agreed. And like I think like we have to make a distinction between saving and hoarding.
Yes.
Like I think saving in Monero is like fine. Like, if
Yeah.
you're using Monero as money, you're earning Monero, you can save in Monero, but you need to be willing to spend it when you need to make a purchase because without the velocity of money of people actually using it, it's going to end up just like Bitcoin.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, I currently don't have really any Monero to be honest with you, but like
Yeah,
I
me
have
neither.
held.
Me neither.
Yeah, and like the thing is like yeah, it's like I don't I know people like I've gotten this criticism in the past where people are like, "Oh, so I can't even hold Monero." It's like, no, you absolutely can. The problem is not holding it necessarily. The problem is yes, hoarding it. It's actually being like antagonistic against the concept of using it because selling Monero for profits is actually using it. That is like using Monero. And like I would actually say this, and I've been just shitting on KYC exchanges all this time. But like, if you want to sell your Monero for dollars, that's totally fine. You can do that. Like, it's go ahead, do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just know, understand the consequences, right? Understand, like, okay, you're giving all this information to a KYC exchange, but like, absolutely. The issue, though, of course, is that when you're only like coming into this environment to make money, you're gonna like hand wave away all the other reasons why we're here. So you're gonna like hold all your cryptocurrency on an exchange, or you're just gonna buy ETFs, right? We
Yeah.
just saw this Plan B guy. He just he finally came out of the closet. He admitted, I don't hold any Bitcoin anymore. I'm all in on the ETFs. I think a lot of these maximalists are going to start doing that. They're going to be like, why am I holding on to this? This is way too much work. I'm just going to hold on to a stock.
Have you seen
The-
that other guy that I think his name's Gladiator? He's like a younger guy with glasses and
oh,
he's like a micro strategy maximalist. Like he's a Bitcoiner, but he only holds micro strategy. Like he won't even hold Bitcoin.
oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's that's the new thing. Like because also with MicroStrategy too, the gains are just better. Like Bitcoin, you got diminishing returns. It's becoming a little more boring. MicroStrategy though, wow. I mean, it's so much higher than it was last year. Buy. It's a rotten culture to its core.
Yeah, I think so too. Like that's how I landed in Monero. Basically, I did like a deep study on privacy in Bitcoin, and then I realized it was just all fucked. And
Yeah.
then I became a Monero guy, and like I got into Monero like I was into Monero like in like 2016 or something when it like had first like come out, and then I became a Bitcoin maximalist, and then like When did they do the tail emission thing? Because I got into Monero like a few months before the tail emission went into play.
Oh, that was yeah. When was that? Huh? That must have been like 22.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, like I
Yeah,
got into like Monero like really
yeah.
like in a big way like around that time because I started mining Monero on my laptop and it was like I don't know probably like 3-4 months before the tail emission thing happened.
Cool. I was gonna say I was similar where I got into Monero before they even had a GUI wallet. Like, that's
That's
why I
why your
use the CLI.
tutorials use Monero D, right?
Yeah, well, the Monero CLI, yeah, I'm just used to it, like, it's what I use.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to flex a little bit, I guess. It makes me look smarter. I have no idea how to use computers, really. I'm just that's a flex I could make, though, so
That's
I
funny
made it.
then. Like you're not like a Linux guy that's like been using the command line for like 10 years or nothing. You're just like you just use
I've
it
been
for that.
Yeah, I've been using Linux for about 6 years now,
Okay.
7 maybe?
Okay.
Yeah, not like, I am by no means, like, a power user at all, like, but I guess, like, I have my power level has gone up just by virtue of me using it for so long, yeah, it has gone up, so it's kind of funny. Like I downplay it, but I guess I seem like a hacker nerd now. It's really not the case. Half the time, I'm like, I like Google like, how do I copy in the terminal? Like I don't know, I don't know what I'm doing half the time. But
Yeah.
it really you kind of have that's kind of how like programmers work too. If you've ever talked to a programmer, they just fucking Google questions all the time. Like it's very hard to internalize like information like that, or like they keep cheat sheets. I have like a
Yeah.
Linux cheat sheet that I use,
Yeah,
So,
I have one for Anaconda Python.
oh, okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There you go. For
Yeah.
sure. You
Eh,
you run Linux?
yeah, right now I'm on Fedora and then
Oh, okay.
on my other computer I have Cubes.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I never used that before. I heard good things.
It's cool. I like it. Like my computer that it's on is kind of older, so it's a little
Gotcha.
bit laggy. It's not as snappy as it should be, I guess, if I had like a newer machine, but it's fun to play around with.
Cool.
Do you think that the Monero moonboyism that we're seeing is just a symptom of this bull market and that if the crypto market crashes and goes into a crypto winter again, we'll see those people disappear?
Mm, excuse me. I don't think they're gonna disappear. They'll come back once it starts popping again. Um, I like that's kind of the whole point. Is like I don't think moonboyism can be like prevented, because like once the charts start like skyrocketing, like you're gonna get in like just the lowest common denominator type of person.
Yeah.
What helps with this though is that Monero isn't really on a lot of exchanges. So we're actually getting helped out by the feds. So shout out, shout out to Trump and Lummis or whatever. Yeah, I mean like by having Monero like limited and like just harder to get to, it's like keeping out, you know, the really lowest of the low. But I mean, yeah, you see these guys on Twitter. They're always gonna be around, and they're always gonna be posting price charts, and like their field of discussion is only on price. You'll notice with these people, they never talk technical stuff. They're never
Yeah.
actually giving educational information. It's always just talking about, the gains that can come. And my recommendation to people is just to ignore those people. But you know what? The thing is, being unfriendly in cryptocurrency means you're not going to have as many friends, and people don't want to like be unfriendly to other people. It's just how these like kind of networks or these communities kind of operate. But in my opinion, you have to like really stand up and have principles. And once someone like toes that line, you have to push back against them and say, no, we're not going to just worship Michael Saylor anymore. He's a pussy. We hate him. He should be tarred and feathered and taken out of Bitcoin. But right now, it's not the case. Like he basically controls Bitcoin right now. Funnily enough.
Yeah, it's crazy how much influence he has, especially since he was like relatively late to come to
Dude,
Bitcoin.
so last year in like September or October, he had an interview with some lady, and he like literally was just like, "Yeah, I don't think people should be able to hold Bitcoin. It should just be on exchanges." He didn't say that, but like it was something along those lines where like he literally was just like, "Yeah, I think people should just hold their Bitcoin on exchanges, much safer." Like he said that. And so then for like a week, there were all these posts on Twitter calling out Michael Saylor for like how dare he, and then he just tweeted out like this like 2 sentence apology, and then everyone's like, oh okay, and that was it. Then like a couple weeks later, he has his fucking New Year's party at his mansion where he's LARPing as the Great Gatsby, and he has like
Was
all
that
these
the
people come
100K
to.
party that he did?
Yeah, it was the
That shit
gayest
was
shit ever.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the fucking lamest shit ever, and everyone who was mad at him all went to the party, and they all sucked his dick because they all suck. That's the problem here. Like the fact that Michael Saylor is even close to the position he's at is a disgrace. He should have been canceled long ago. Yes, he should have been canceled. I'm endorsing canceling in this case because I really care about peer-to-peer cash. And this guy is a snake, and like he's literally telling people what he wants, and people are still going along with it because he apologized. Like he doesn't care about you. He just wants your money. It's crazy. That's insane. I don't understand how people still worship this guy, and yet he has more supporters than Bitcoin supporters who only care about it as cash. He has the majority of Bitcoin support right now. I tweeted about this the other day. Right now, Bitcoin is being 51% attacked, but by Moon Boys.
Yeah.
Like that's what's happening right now. Bitcoin is overrun by Moon Boys.
I think it's been taken over because like a lot of the actual like ideological Bitcoiners that are like holding true to like cypherpunk values, there's hardly any of them left. They're all either in Monero or Bitcoin Cash or like other projects. And the ones that remain, like I have like Bitcoiner friends that are trying to like save Bitcoin still, and they don't think it's a lost cause. They think it can be saved from this Moon Boy takeover, and to me it's like a lost cause. Like you guys are fighting a losing battle, you're wasting your resources, you might as well just come over to Monero. But like with this thing, like Amir Taki said that we're going to see like the bifurcation of the crypto market into DarkFi and then into the financial like regulated markets. And we're seeing like Bitcoin and like all these transparent currencies being financialized by Wall Street. And then projects like Monero and like privacy coins are just like on the fringes, and it's like 1% or less than 1% of like the total market. So like Amir was actually very prescient when he made that prediction, and we're seeing it play out. But like I think Bitcoin's already like a lost cause. Like it's already been financialized, it's already been taken over, and the few remaining cypherpunk Bitcoiners, like they're fighting a losing battle.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, they're in denial, is what they are. Like Bitcoin's done at this point. Like a couple years ago, I would have pushed back against you because Samurai Wallet honestly was holding the fort.
Yeah.
But man, right now it's just like it's really bad. And the people who are like trying to build on it that actually care about Bitcoin, I'm always going to support those guys. I can't like that's great that they're trying to fight back, but like it's overtaken at this point. They're turning it into a store of value project, and we're going to be seeing that enforced basically through legislation. Like
And
if you want,
covenants, like I think covenants are really going to backfire. Like people don't realize that if they can do spending conditions, like so can the government and regulators like impose that they do certain kinds of spending conditions that make it so you can't access your funds until you KYC or until you pay
right.
taxes. Like they can really like CBDC the shit out of Bitcoin with covenants. And I don't think like people are looking at it like, oh no, we're gonna have ARC, we're gonna have payment pools and all this shit. But for real, like that shit's gonna cut both ways, and it's gonna backfire.
Well, the thing is, you can always use a cryptocurrency privately, right? So like there's always going to be ways that you can use Bitcoin privately. It's just like the project on a whole though has failed for what it was originally set out to be as a protest against central banking and the financial system as a whole, right? It's turned into this Frankenstein project where it now is like a endorsed project by the financial industry, right?
Yeah,
Where
it's
you have
horrible.
where you have banks trotting around and you got Michael Saylor twerking on stage. It sucks. Like it's just it's nowhere near where it used to be. And now we're talking about the cypherpunks in the project. Like yeah, being corrupted. Like man, that core team for Bitcoin. I'm reading some of these posts. It's Moonboy shit. it's unbelievable. Like that what's his name? Adam Back. Unbelievable. He's posting literally price charts and like, oh, Bitcoin's going to seven figures in 1 year, like crap. And he's like, like he's one of the main core members. It's like, what
Yeah.
is this? What is this crap? What is this turned into? It's disgusting.
The other thing that really
Yeah, I mean,
bothers me is like this whole movement that they want to like use like liquid and like
yeah.
other like like layers of Bitcoin to like start like tokenizing shit. Like they're trying to like do the exact same shit they've been talking shit about Ethereum about for like a decade.
Yeah, yeah, and they're collaborating with like MasterCard, right? Like, I mean, it's just like across the board, like it sucks. Like here's the thing though, it's not being used, right? We know this by the data. There's actually so speaking of Lightning Network, there was a report that came out like a couple days ago by River about Lightning Network usage. Yeah, so basically, I'm looking at the graph here that River put out, and they list 3 months. They got August 2021, August 2023, and then November 2024. So essentially, what they did is they cherry picked November 2024, where in each month they list the number of transactions and the volume that went in for each month. So August 2021 shows 500,000 transactions, $12 million in volume that went into Lightning. August 2023 shows 6.6 million transactions and 78 million in volume that went into Lightning. So that is a pretty sizable increase. But then it shows in November 2024, the amount of transactions dropped from 6.6 million to 2.42 million, which is a huge, huge drop. However, their cope is that the volume that went into Lightning increased from 78 million to 286 million. Now, it's important to note, though, the reason that they picked November 2024 was because of the massive Trump pump that happened after the elections, right? Of course, there's going to be a higher volume because people were like funneling money into cryptocurrency. So, like, you have these people, publishing these reports, trying to say la 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 la, everything's all good, guys. The music doesn't stop. Like we're having fun, but it's just like they're lying to you. Like people aren't using Lightning Network. It's becoming more and more centralized, and the real ones who actually use peer to peer cash, they're just using Bitcoin on the base layer.
Yeah, I think they're using Bitcoin on the base layer for sure because the fees have been like 1 sat per byte. Like
And
nobody's
that's
been using it
yeah.
at all throughout the whole run up to 100K.
Which is actually kind of a blessing for the store of value stuff is like, well, maybe if Bitcoin is mostly used as a store of value, then okay, we can start building on the base layer again. I'm a firm believer that the worst thing that can happen to Bitcoin is its price keeps going exponentially up. If it actually matures and we see like, Bitcoin become boring price wise, we can actually start to improve it on the base layer. It would be the best thing that happened to Bitcoin.
I don't
And
think it
honestly,
can go up forever. Like I think it's like
well,
mathematically impossible.
well, that's the thing though. I was about to say you have diminishing returns already happening. And like this market, you mentioned before, like you think that the market's already topped. You're
Yeah.
very possibly correct. Like and if it has topped at like 108, like that's now two consecutive bull runs where it's been very underwhelming. I mean, if you go back into 2021, right? That was all primed for a massive bull run because you had so much quantitative easing going on. Central banks were just the money printer was on fire. Basically, it was
People
just
were
printing.
getting their COVID
Oh my god,
stimulus and they were just buying Bitcoin with it.
it was all set up, and 100K was the floor. What happened? It didn't even break 70K. Like that was a huge failure, and like everyone's like, oh yeah, whatever, it was just a fluke year. Well, what if it happens again? We're seeing a second year in a or not year, a second bull
Having.
run in a row. Yeah, where it's actually kind of underwhelming, and this is going to really change the conversation. Where it's like, maybe these like exponential returns, maybe they're unrealistic. Maybe there actually is diminishing returns, and that would actually show the project maturing. Ironically enough, so yeah, I mean this report says it all. I think people aren't using Bitcoin, at least Lightning Network.
What
They're using Bitcoin on the base layer more so.
what do you think of Super Testnet's claims that people are going to eventually start using Lightning on the darknet and Did you see that Noster like darknet site they made where like it used JavaScript and they were trying to use Lightning with it?
They use JavaScript.
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
TypeScript or something.
oh man. Um, I mean, if okay, the reason Lightning Network is not used on darknet markets is because Lightning Network isn't being used. That's it. It's actually not rocket science. People aren't using Lightning Network. So why would it be used on darknet markets? You
Well,
don't even have to look at it from a privacy perspective.
I
Just
think
from
the
the
UI is like so like I'm not going to fucking spend money to spend money. Like that's retarded. Like the whole like liquidity thing,
well,
like
that's
where you have to like
yeah,
either manage your channels and it's a
yeah,
pain in the ass and you have to be like a sysadmin to do
yep,
it, or you use a custodial
yep,
solution where it's just whatever, I can just use it and no problems. But then it's custodial, or like if you use like a Phoenix wallet, for instance, where you have to like pay them for them to loan you liquidity so that you can
yeah.
actually use it. Like that's the stupidest thing ever. Like nobody's going to do that.
There's no point. It's there's no point, and I mean, there's so many different things I can rant about Lightning Network about. So, like for example, to use Lightning Network, well, you have to spend Bitcoin, the transaction fee, to get on Lightning Network, right?
Yes.
So this actually creates a situation where if the fees are at the point where they're all like really really high fees, like to even get on Lightning Network will cost Bitcoin. So how are you going to get on Lightning Network? You're stuck basically.
Yeah.
You can't move. You're
We've
like
seen
you're
that too.
and
We've seen
yes,
like Lightning fail in high fee environments. Like when the
exactly.
ordinal shit was going on and the fees were
Yeah.
like $300 or whatever, like nobody could get on Lightning.
Yeah, and I like to refer to these as Bitcoin blackouts, where the network is just unusable for the most part, and people like the advice that's given is, well, you just gotta wait it out, basically. Like, yeah, it's whatever. And during these periods, like, does Lightning Network increase in usage? Probably not really. Like, it's just kind of the same. Like, you would think Lightning Network fixes this, quote unquote, but it doesn't. So, like, how would you avoid that in the future? Like, let's say the entire world is using Bitcoin, right?
That wouldn't be a problem if they didn't put RBF in. Like if you could just,
Yeah,
accept a zero comp and like, okay, yeah, it takes like a week to settle, whatever. Like I got the zero comp, I already,
true.
that wouldn't be a problem. But because they put RBF in there and now you can no longer reliably trust zero comp, like it is a huge fucking problem.
It's a huge problem. Yeah. And I like that alone. Like for me, like, okay, let's dumb this down to like the normie, the mechanic who's like using cryptocurrency to buy drugs on the internet. Okay.
Okay.
Do you think he's going to go through all the trouble to learn how to use Lightning Network?
Not at
Absolutely
all.
not.
Not at all.
0% chance. He is Googling, how do I buy drugs on the internet? Because he's an idiot, okay? You have to dumb this way down. So he's going to be told two things. One, you can use Bitcoin, but you have to use Whirlpool. And then he's going to go through all the steps. His head's going to be spinning. Or get Monero. He's going to be like, okay, I'll use Monero. And that's what he does. That's
Yeah.
it. Now, with Lightning Network, yes, the UX has improved for the centralized services, and that's a no-go for darknet. That's immediate into the trash it goes. So then you have this one subset of Lightning Network users, a very small subset, but a subset nonetheless, who are running their own channels, doing it the right way. And for these people, you could argue they're using Lightning Network very privately and that they have their own way of using it. But like
I would say
that's
they
not
face insurmountable routing issues though.
well, that's the thing. Yeah, they
If
get
you're
blocked
not
out.
it doesn't matter if you're like running your own channels and like managing your node and you know how to do it and you do it great. Like the problem is if you're not connected to like a fucking highly liquid hub node like Bitfinex or Bitrefill or Wallet of Satoshi or like one of these other services, Phoenix, your payments are not going to route properly because
Yeah,
everyone else is connected to those nodes. So even if you have your own channels and you're with your buddies and you're all opening channels to each other, you're still like your little subsection of the network topography is like disconnected from the rest of the network.
yeah, you'll be blacklisted basically, and you'll stick out too because the amount of people running private nodes is just smaller and smaller, right? I don't fully understand Lightning Network infrastructure, to be completely honest. So talking about on the technical side, I'll probably make mistakes here and there, but yeah, you are correct where like most of the hub is going through these centralized servers. And like, if it gets to the point where Lightning Network is being used more and more, they're just not going to allow any type of association with people who aren't KYC approved, quote unquote. Like you'll have to get approval to use Lightning Network, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it happening. But like to have that even happen in the first place, Lightning Network will have to become popular. And that's like they people have to start using it, and like that's just not happening. So for the darknet, like back to the mechanic guy, like he's not going to be running his own node. He's going to be using, what's it called? Strike. He's going to be
Yeah.
using the Strike app. And like that's just, again, that's a no-go on darknet markets. So these guys who are shilling this as like, well, we're going to start to see darknet markets shift to it. They have absolutely no understanding of the climate over there. These are super paranoid drug users, schizos, and a lot of them too are people who are very distrustful, which is, I'm not saying is a bad thing at all. Like they're very distrustful and skeptical, and they're going to immediately pick that apart and say, I don't trust that at all. And
Yeah.
I agree with them,
And I think a lot of people like on the darknet right now like see Bitcoin as like an attack vector that's unnecessary. Like if you read like the darknet Bible, it will tell you
Yeah.
like never use Bitcoin. If you absolutely have to use Bitcoin, like swap it to Monero. You go on Dread and you ask them like, "Hey, Bitcoin," and they'll be like, "Why would you ever use Bitcoin? Don't use Bitcoin for anything. It's cancer." Even if you use Lightning, like there's still an on-chain footprint that they can use against you. So like, a lot of the people that are currently operating on the dark web want nothing to do with Bitcoin.
Yeah, it actually, if you look at it from a branding perspective, like the Bitcoin brand regarding privacy has taken a massive hit. And like people, like even like regular people are starting to pick up on the fact that Bitcoin isn't private. It's pseudonymous, right? It's not anonymous. And
Yeah.
so it's from like a public relations perspective on the dark net, yeah, Bitcoin has really taken a hit where people just don't trust people who only use Bitcoin. For like if a market launches and it's Bitcoin only, like that's glowing. Like everyone's gonna be like, dude, don't
Those
use
are the
that
feds.
site.
That's a honeypot. Don't use it.
That's a honeypot. That is what has happened. So like to think that Monero has slowly and organically taken over the darknet, right? That's what's happened. And to think that now Lightning Network is going to slowly and organically chip away at Monero is completely delusional. It's not looking at what's actually happening. It would require a complete rebranding of Lightning Network and like people to actually start using Lightning Network and people to start using Lightning Network correctly. And that's just not going to happen.
No, when they say that, like there's always like some caveats, like, oh, like, yeah, Monero or Lightning's more private than Monero,
Yeah.
but you have to use Bolt 12, but you have to connect
Yeah.
to nodes that won't log you, like non-logging peers, but you have to do this, but you have to do that. So, oh, you have to get the Bitcoin P2P with no KYC before you fund the channel, coin join it, put it into a channel from the coin join. Like there's so much bullshit involved to use it in a way that it would offer like an adequate amount of privacy that no one's ever going to do it.
Yeah, I like to think of this as like the academics who are like kind of like it's like a pissing contest where they're trying to make the most private thing. It's irrelevant. And this is something I've talked about a lot, where it's why I really dislike the phrase privacy coin. It's privacy is a fluid situation. You can't you're not like flipping a switch and saying, "Oh, I'm private right now," right? It's a very complicated subject that there is no right or wrong answer for. And so when you refer to something as a privacy coin, what you're doing is you're like kind of disregarding everything else about the project. Whereas really, Monero, for example, it's not a privacy coin. It's a cryptocurrency, just like all these other cryptocurrencies. It has great privacy features built in, but when you refer to Monero as a privacy coin, you're like completely disregarding things like random X or the dynamic block size. These are just as important as Monero's privacy, right? So
Yeah, I would say random X is probably more important than Monero's privacy.
It's actually why I was first interested in Monero was for the ASIC resistance. Actually, I really was like attached to that because mining culture is really really important for a cryptocurrency in my opinion. And so anyway, like when you're looking at Lightning Network, these guys are like, yeah, well, if we use this technically, the odds are of finding the real transaction they're far more difficult. Like they start like getting in these like pissing contests, and it's just like, dude, no one cares. That mechanic who's buying drugs in the darknet, he's not reading your freaking white papers. He's just using what other people are using. He's not Googling like, oh, Halo 2 on Zcash. He's not doing that. Absolutely not.
He's
He's
going on Dread, and he's
yes.
gonna find out that Bitcoin will get you arrested, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah. And like some people will say, "Oh, they're being dumb. They're using the wrong tool." And it's like, "No, Monero is battle tested. It's been around for a while. It works. People trust it. It's built up a reputation. It's built up
A
clout."
network effect.
Yes, it actually has. It does have a network effect right now where people who want privacy, they're just using Monero. And that's why Monero is mogging these privacy coins because these privacy coins, they're only focusing on one part where Monero is really the complete package. And that's why I'm so passionate about this project because it's really looking at Bitcoin and it has trade-offs relative to Bitcoin. And these trade-offs are very complementary, I think. And I think that's why Monero is such a powerful project. So yeah, privacy coin, if you're using that phrase to describe your project, it's probably a trash
I'm
project in
kind
my
of
opinion.
guilty. I always say privacy coin. I'll try to not do that now that you've explained that.
Yeah. Hey, this is for what it's worth. I'm not calling you out for this. A lot of people do this. I see this all the time.
No, but I like to
In
tell
fact,
people
I
my
even
podcast is like a privacy coin podcast. Like, you know what I mean?
well, you suck. All right. Yeah, I hate your podcast. No, listen, I've also done it too.
Yeah.
I've also said this phrase too. But like, it's one of those things where like when you really think about it, like privacy, it's not like it's not an on or an off switch. You know, if we're talking about privacy coins by volume, Bitcoin is the most used privacy coin right now. Right? If we're looking at this Bybit hack, they have a lot of cryptocurrency just went into Bitcoin, 1.4 billion. It probably
Yeah.
has the most volume of illicit trade right now. Actually, you can even argue like Tether. Tether probably has the most by volume illicit trade volume because people are using it to like hold on to their they're swapping into it in all these like third world countries. It's
Yeah.
being used by cartels. Just because it's pegged to the dollar, it's very useful for them. I
Yeah, yeah.
mean,
It doesn't have the volatility. Like, why would
exactly.
you put
Yeah,
your money into Bitcoin when it can crash? Like, look how much it just crashed, like 20% in the last like couple days.
but
Whereas if you would have been holding Tether, you're fine.
But the thing is, you're not calling Bitcoin a privacy coin, or you're not calling Tether a privacy coin. But if we're looking at actual privacy usage, it's what's being used, right? But can you use Tether privately? I don't think. I don't even know.
You can in like small amounts, right? Like
Probably, yeah.
I can swap, like Monero for Tether and then load my crypto debit card. And like, as
Okay.
long as I do it like under, like I don't go over like $3,000 or something at a time,
Yeah.
then I'm probably good and I probably won't get shotgun KYC'd. Whereas if I did $10,000, they'd probably want to see a source of funds.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah,
So there's like a threshold. You
for
can use
sure.
Tether somewhat privately. I mean, obviously Chainalysis is probably watching it, so who knows how private it really is, but
Mm. Yeah. Um, but like I said though, like Bitcoin, it is being used in a lot of privacy situations today, and it's still used on darknet markets for what it's worth. It is, which is crazy, but people are still using it because it's liquid, and that's just the way it is. And it is insane that people still accept Bitcoin on these darknet markets, but that's just the reality.
I mean, there's people still use centralized mixers too, like Bitcoin
Yeah,
Fog, for instance, right? Like that guy got
yeah,
taken down, but there's other services that do the same exact thing.
yeah. I'm pretty sure there are. I mean, again, like if you are like totally stupid and going on the darknet, it's very easy to like get tricked. Like I actually went on there's a darknet subreddit.
Okay.
And their Bible that they have, I think, is from like 2019 or 2020. Like it's totally outdated, and they have that pinned on like their sidebar. It's like, oh god, they're giving these people like horrible advice. Like what the hell? Yeah, I mean, you see it like really bad advice being given all the time. I mean,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
pretty
know.
wild. Like
Yeah,
with this lightning shit. Okay. So we're talking about lightning and the network effect that Monero has developed on the dark web. Like I see stable coins in the same way. Like the big announcement right now is that like there's going to be stable coins on Lightning. There's a lot of fanfare in the Bitcoin community about it. They think somehow they're going to redirect stablecoin usage worldwide into Bitcoin, and it's going to be like a net positive for Bitcoin. But I don't see that happening because the network effect that stablecoins have created, like the people that actually use stablecoins are not using Bitcoin. They're using Tron, or they're using Ton or Polygon or like one of these other cheap to transact networks because they're poor and they don't want to pay transaction fees.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually didn't even know about that Lightning Network stablecoin thing until like today when I was listening to the Senate hearing committee thing. Because one of the, I think she works for, I forget the name of the company, but it's the company that's like trying to get this done. With,
Lightning
well,
Labs.
yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's like representing them or something. Dude, I have no idea. I don't even understand what that means necessarily. I think, are they just using like Lightning Network infrastructure for
The way,
stablecoin?
yeah, the way I understand it is that with Taproot, like when they did the Taproot soft fork, like you now have the ability to do Taproot assets.
Okay.
And then they're going to do Taproot assets like in Lightning channels where it's, I would assume it's Bitcoin like moving, but it's represented like as a dollar or whatever.
Is it
Or
set
maybe
up?
it's its own asset. Like I'm not exactly sure, but from what
Uh,
I've been told from people that know more than me, they're going to use this thing called like universes, like Taproot universes. So it's like a, I don't know, like a private implementation that they can actually like freeze funds and like add KYC and like all this compliance shit
uh,
to Lightning for these stable
yeah.
coins.
Yeah. I mean, I think if Bitcoin continues to grow, eventually you're gonna have it so people just onboard to the second layer. Like they won't even onboard to the base layer because the fees will be too high,
Yeah, we're
right?
seeing that in like in Ethereum to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are
So
just using like these L2s on Ethereum, like
yeah,
Polygon or like uh there's others,
yeah,
Arbitrum.
yeah. That's probably what they're like planning for, I guess, because they're gonna have like liquidity providers, and it's all gonna be KYC nonsense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the stablecoin thing. Ironically, that's probably going to be used more than Bitcoin on the Lightning Network if that actually ends up happening. I could see that actually being used just
Yeah.
because it's pegged by the dollars. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, like
uh,
a lot of Bitcoiners give Tether a pass, right? Like a lot of
yeah,
maxis, like you'll see like people like Max Kaiser and shit be like, "Oh, Tether," and
yeah,
they'll give it a pass, even though they think everything else is a shitcoin, right? Which is hilarious to me because Tether is one of the biggest shitcoins in my opinion. But
yeah.
uh, so like a lot of like if you go to like a Bitcoin conference, like you'll see them spending Tether. Like they don't spend Bitcoin; they'd rather hold their
Really,
Bitcoin and hodl it, and then they'll be spending Tether and shit. Yeah.
really.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I didn't know about that. I'm not surprised. I know like there was like someone who tweeted out about there was a conference recently and like the Lightning Network total usage was so low relative to like what it should have been. Like it was like embarrassingly low. Like no one was using Lightning Network. I'm not surprised. It just sounds like yeah,
Yeah,
the
it doesn't
Bitcoin
surprise
culture.
me at all. Like I go to like I work like for a crypto company. I don't want to like say more than that, but I go to a lot of events.
Oh, so you got inside information here. Oh, okay.
Well, no, I
Cool.
go to a lot of crypto conferences and I just see tons of people like
No, that's what
they
I'm
either
saying.
use
Yeah.
Wallet of Satoshi, like if they're going to use Bitcoin at all, they'll use like a custodial Lightning wallet, like Strike or
Okay.
Wallet of Satoshi,
Yeah.
or they're using Tether or cash. Like they'll just use cash or like a credit card.
That's probably the best thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, at least you're using cash.
Yeah.
Eesh.
Yeah. So, but like I don't know, like with Monero taking over the dark web in an organic fashion, like that to me is like probably the most important signal that you can possibly have in crypto.
Yeah.
And it seems like the whole industry has missed it just because they're on this fucking gambling degen
Mhm.
like Solana meme coin, number go up Bitcoiner stuff.
Yeah. So I'll give you a little preview into darknet market maximalism. I actually talk about this. I refer to it as the cloud building stage. Basically, that's what Monero is doing right now. It's building cloud. Like a lot of projects like they they like hype up things and it's all speculative BS. But like what's actually being used, right? What's actually needed? What's being needed like fuel, like as a utility. And we can witness that in darknet markets, right?
Yeah.
That's an actual thing that we can see. This isn't some fantasy that we're talking about 20 years in the future, right? It's happening right now. And it's only a matter of time before people start talking about that, which is kind of scary to think about because we've already talked about that with the Moon Boys coming in.
Mhm.
But with that though, you have people paying attention, saying, "Oh, they're using what now? Huh, interesting." And that's kind of what gave Bitcoin its purpose initially. And
How
it's
long do you think it will take the libertarian kind of like conspiracy theory crowd
yeah.
to adopt? Because like that was a huge part of early Bitcoin adoption. Like we saw people like Roger Ver go to like Porkfest and onboard all the libertarians and like the anti-Federal Reserve people. And I haven't seen that really happen with Monero yet, but I'm waiting for that to happen because I think that's a huge part of like organic adoption.
Well, I don't think they figured out yet that Bitcoin's become compromised from its purpose to the kind of the number go up. A lot for what it's worth, a lot of people have already figured it out, and they're just not being vocal about it because that's not the type of people who use Monero. Most of us are pretty low key about things, right? We're kind of just like letting things organically grow. That's kind of how we like it, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it is kind of surprising. I think it's gonna kind of just naturally work itself out. You're just gonna see more people get censored. You're gonna see the IRS using chain analysis more on tax reports. You're gonna see more people getting their Bitcoin frozen due to whatever. You're gonna just see that more and more and more, and eventually it reaches a breaking point where influencers really will start pointing this out. It's actually one thing that could happen is like someone like who shills Bitcoin may start to like start talking about Monero just for that reason because they've been censored.
We're
So
seeing a little bit of that happen right now. Like that
a little
Ungovernable
bit, yeah,
Misfits podcast, it was like a
yeah,
before like just a Bitcoin only like kind of maximalist podcast, and now
yes,
they have like a monthly Monero show that they're doing with like Seth for
oh yeah.
Privacy or something.
Oh yeah, it's a total organic shift, where you're starting to see like a lot of these podcast guys that were totally only Bitcoin now, just like yeah, Monero's great. Watchman Privacy is a podcast that I really enjoy, and he used to be only Bitcoin, but now he he just shits on Bitcoin all the time now. Like he's totally into
Yeah, he
Monero.
he had a funny one. I forget what it was, but he had
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
satirical one that he did about
yeah.
Bitcoin that made me laugh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You're seeing a lot of that start to happen. Are
I'm
you still
seeing a
there?
lot of Bitcoiners
Oh,
that I
sorry.
know in real life that are maxis that will accept Monero because I always press the issue with them, like because
Yeah,
I'm like I don't want fucking Bitcoin. I don't even want to give you Bitcoin. If you want to accept my money, you got to take Monero, bro, and they'll do it.
yeah.
Like whereas before they would be like, oh shit coiner. So
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's Monero has a reputation now, for sure. Like people respect it. And you can't really say that about most cryptocurrencies. Off the top of my head, like Ethereum has a lot of respect
yeah,
just because it's been around. It has a big ecosystem. I would probably put Litecoin on that list too.
yeah,
I
I
like,
would put Litecoin on it because Litecoin's like the
yeah,
most used, I would say.
yeah. Yeah. I do like Litecoin. I don't really know much about it, but like it is being used. And it's being used to like go into Monero. Like people are buying Litecoin and then swapping it into Monero for darknet markets. It's
Yeah, I
mentioned
do that
in
shit
the
a
dark.
lot.
Yeah, it's mentioned in the Darknet Bible, for
Yeah.
example. Um, but like outside of that, like I mean, I don't really know what has like actual reputation where people just like
I would say
kind of like
Solana has a little bit of reputation now.
yeah, just because yeah, it is being used a lot for sure. For these meme coins.
Yeah, and like I've seen
Uh,
shit like on Instagram where you see like some hood
mm.
nigga that's like, "Oh, I got like 8 souls, bro." You know what I mean? Like
Got
somebody
that
that
soul, cuh.
yeah, that wouldn't even be like a crypto guy, like.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, true. I remember, like, it's so funny when, like, you're talking to, like, people outside of it, and they, like, name drop cryptocurrencies, and you're like, "Really?" I was at a party once, and this was back in, like, 2021 during that bull run. I was at a party, and this kid was like, "Yeah, I got Cardano." I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, I got that in Dogecoin. And he's like showing me his like, I think he bought out like Robinhood too. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Like,
Nice, bro.
yeah, this is what I'm passionate about. Great, you know, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, how do we separate the degen gambling part of crypto
Mm.
from, like, serious, like, liberty technology?
Yeah, I don't really have an answer other than gatekeeping. I don't. I'm trying to figure that out
Or do we
actually.
just embrace the free market? And
Well, that's the thing. You can't stop it. And this is kind of the tragedy of cryptocurrency where it's this you can't separate scarcity from it. Like and that's like an economic thing, right? Like you look at something like Linux. There's no economic value that you're going to get from running Linux. So why do you use Linux? Because you want to use it, right?
yeah,
It's you want that freedom.
yeah,
And like people aren't running to learn Linux because it's like super easy. I mean, I would argue it's easy, but like there is that learning curve. You have to learn about new things, and for a lot of people, that's very difficult, and it's out of their comfort zone, and it's scary. They don't want to deal with that smoke, right?
yeah,
Um, but like you're not making money off of it potentially. With cryptocurrency, you do have scarcity, and that like adds this element to it that does allow for free market speculation. And so, yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately this thing that it's kind of inevitable. Like we're gonna have to deal with this question, where if Monero does go up a lot in value, I believe it will. I think it's pretty much inevitable. It will at some point. Possibly it won't, and that's okay. Like I'm not here for that part of it. You know what I mean? But if it does go up a lot in volume, you're gonna like that bar of intelligence is gonna go. It's gonna go in the earth. Like it's gonna go down. Like it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be really bad, and
yeah.
we're gonna have to deal with people like that. I man. I was on Twitter the other day, and like I went down this rabbit hole of like Bitcoin soccer moms. There's like a whole community out there. They're like soccer moms, and they're talking about Bitcoin and hodling. I swear to God, this actually exists. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's people like that, and I was just thinking like, I can't see this happening with Monero. This would never happen with Monero. Could it happen? And like I started like questioning myself, like maybe this could happen, and that's kind of terrifying to me
What do you
because I
think
don't
about
want.
mass adoption though? Because like I kind of like Monero being like an underground, like parallel thing that exists. Like if you know about it and you want to use
Yeah.
it, you can, but like it's not like mainstream. And I think like a huge part of like Bitcoin being compromised was this push to like mass adoption and like onboarding normies like Bitcoin soccer moms.
Ding, 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 ding. That's exactly you are 100% correct. And you're having me talk about stuff in my manifesto, dude. Like I did I leak it to you? Yes, I
No,
have a whole I
I
have a
just
whole I do have a bit about this where it's like mass adoption is a meme. Okay. We have to stop pushing for mass adoption. Okay. It's not gonna take we're not taking over the world with cryptocurrency. We have to make it so and this is kind of the whole point of like cryptocurrency, it's a niche thing, and we have to let it just organically grow. If you're designing it for mass adoption, you're losing.
mass
You don't want to.
adoption is like a byproduct of Bitcoin maximalism.
It is absolutely. It absolutely is, and it's also a Trojan horse for regulations. That's really what. If you're appealing for governments, you're just going to bend the knee to regulations. And so, with Monero, do I think Monero is going to be used by like everybody in the world one day? No, I don't. I what I do think though is that Monero is always going to exist as this underlying protocol for the underground economy, the internet economy. It has the potential to be used by everybody, but by allowing it to organically grow, we will have the best possible project. And when you're forcing mass adoption on people, what you're doing is you are bending the knee to, or you are looking at regulations and having trade-offs. Like, okay, you know what? We're not going to build in privacy because we want to be listed on this KYC exchange. I think that's garbage. I think you need to make the best project available. If it's going to be banned everywhere and it's going to affect the price, who gives a damn? We need to have peer-to-peer digital cash, right?
Yeah,
So
agreed.
so yeah, I mean, I really that is one of my biggest nitpicks with the modern day cryptocurrency um, community is wanting to have mass adoption. Why? And what it is, it's a symptom of wanting the number to go up because for them, mass adoption means more people are going to buy their cryptocurrency, and if more people buy their cryptocurrency, that means I make money. That's what that means.
Yeah. I mean, like for me, like what's his name? Daniel Kravitz or whatever. The guy that wrote the hyper Bitcoinization paper like in 2014. It's on
Uh,
the Nakamoto Institute website, right?
okay.
he's now like a BSV guy. Like he got pissed
Okay.
off at Bitcoiners like during the fork wars and like became a
Yeah.
BSV guy at some point. So, but he wrote like one of the most influential papers like in Bitcoin, right? Like the hyper Bitcoinization like
Yeah.
thesis. And like mass adoption is part and parcel of hyper Bitcoinization, where you think everybody in the world is going to be using a single currency. And I
Yeah.
totally disagree
Yeah.
with that. It's not observable. Like we've always had like a multi-currency world. And I think crypto, even if everybody's going to be using crypto all the time on the face of the earth, I think it's going to be like thousands of different cryptocurrencies that you can easily like bridge or swap back and forth from, right? So
Absolutely. I
I would
mean,
like to see Monero as like a hardcore subsection of that, I guess, like that you can always utilize if you need it, but like I don't care like if everybody else uses it. Like
yeah.
as long as there's like, you know, the people that care about like freedom and privacy can access it, then that's enough, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, look at it from the perspective of the government. Like, do you think they're going to just allow Bitcoin to take over everything? Like, that is such a naive look at how the world works. Dollars are going to continue to exist. Like it's this weird, like people have this like leap of faith that all one day, all of a sudden, everyone's gonna be like, dollars suck. I'm gonna start using Bitcoin. It's completely delusional. That's not how people actually think. They go along with whatever the government tells them because the government makes them safe, and people like to feel safe. So if the government's like, you know what, we're gonna be doing this crazy stuff with the Federal Reserve, people are just like, okay, yeah, whatever. We don't care. I want to talk about Tom Brady. That's what people are doing. They don't really care.
Yeah.
So it's just like completely delusional that not it's not only America. I'm obviously talking from an American perspective, but like it's not just America. It's all these different countries. They're not going to just like give up their power and fiat. And it's not just even countries. It's the bankers too. They're not going to give up their power. They're going to try to co-opt it, or they're going to try to use it to their own benefit. And that's literally what's happening. So like this concept that like everything's going to be running on Bitcoin in the future it's delusional, which is why Bitcoin has turned into a tech stock.
Yeah, and I think that extends to like using Bitcoin as money too. Like the fact that they focus so hard on like store of value and number go up, uh, nobody's ever going to use it. Like
Yeah.
the reason people don't use it is because they have like an opportunity cost, like fear of missing out. Like if I spend it now, what am I missing out on in the future when it pumps next time? So like nobody's ever going to spend it. And like you hear these Bitcoiners that are delusional saying like, oh no, like eventually everyone's going to be spending Bitcoin all the time. It's got to be a store of value before it becomes medium of exchange. But it's like you have people like Sailor that already own like a shitload of the total supply that are talking about the government needs to buy like 20% of the supply, or you know every billionaire is going to ape in at some point and they're going to buy up all the Bitcoin. And it's like, well, okay, but at what point of adoption, like even if all this shit happens in the most optimistic way laid out by Sailor, at what point will people start spending it? And I don't see that ever happening as long as it, you know, if it continues to rise in value the way they see it, like exponentially, which I think is impossible. But if it continued like theoretically to rise in value constantly, like nobody would ever spend it. There would be no incentive to spend it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a paradox. I mean, you can't why would you spend Monero or yeah, exactly. We can look at it from the Monero perspective. If Monero is exponentially going up in value, why would you spend it, right? That's what Moonboyism is. It comes in and it perverts the culture from being this parallel economy to being this investment Ponzi scheme, right? And it's totally like eroded all of like like the grassroots passion that Bitcoin had, and it's turned this into this just gambling scheme. And it's not just Bitcoin. It's all these projects out in this you know ecosystem, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
It's more like a garbage pile.
That's why like meme coins, I guess, like I don't like trade them or buy them, but I like the concept of them because like in like previous market cycles, like they would come out with like a white paper, right? Remember like Tron, they just copied the Ethereum white paper and
Hmm.
then they had a project, right? Like they would have like these false pretenses that there's value here, that we're building something, that we're doing something noteworthy. That's why you should buy this shit coin that we have, right? And I like the fact that meme coins have like just stripped all that shit out and made it like the most efficient form of like gambling crack possible.
Gambling crack.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, I will say this about meme coins. At least they're upfront about being degenerate. Okay, like at least they're not LARPing as a cypherpunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're coming out and saying, you know what? We think the financial system is like rotten. We're just having fun with it. I think that's kind of funny. I think it's I actually see that some value in that. There's that one meme coin, SBX 6900. Have you heard of this one?
I've seen people posting about it, but I
Yeah,
have
it's pretty cool. Like
no
it's
idea what it is.
yeah, I like the artwork too. Like they have some they have some cool art stuff, but like they're literally the only point of it is to have a higher market capitalization than the SPX. That's literally the only point of their existence. It's a total joke, but like they're open about that. They're just like, yeah, like this is all like the economy's totally rigged. Everything sucks. This is clown world. Screw it. Let's just like make some money. And
Yeah.
like at least they're being honest. You know, at least they're coming out and just saying that. So I
It's
mean,
kind of cypherpunk too that they're doing this shit like knowing that like there's regulations trying to prevent them from like doing this. Like you remember like ICOs? ICOs were basically the same
yeah,
thing except for regulators were like, "Oh shit, can't have that. Can't have them raising money like you know,
yeah.
and then they came in and regulated the shit out of them and made them gay. So like now that meme coins are just like fuck you, we're gonna do it in just the most degen way possible. Like it's kind of cypherpunk, I guess.
Kind of. I mean, I wouldn't call it cypherpunk because you got the guy. The funniest one. There was this guy who made a meme coin on Pump Fun, and
Yeah,
he was in like a dog cage. Have you seen this?
I
It's
did see
this.
that. I did see that.
He's in like a dog cage, and behind him, it's like it has like these different like thresholds. Like if we get to $10,000, he'll like start barking or something. And
Yeah.
like it was down the line. Oh, it was the funniest crap ever. Yeah. I mean, it's really it really subverts cryptocurrency for sure. It subverts like financial investments because like I mean, you look at like investing in like stocks and stuff. Like, what are you really investing in? You know, when you're investing in Tesla, you're kind of just investing on the brand, right? You're not really we get into this weird territory of like what are you actually buying, like what actually exists. And with meme coins, they're just kind of like, yeah, this is a guy in a cage dressed up as a dog. He's barking if you get to certain dollars. Screw it, I'm gonna throw some money in this. you know
Yeah. I mean, there were
so,
some funny ones too. Like I saw one where like this guy he like had like a gun to like a cat or like a puppy or some shit. Like he was like, if it doesn't get to this amount, I'm gonna like shoot this puppy. There was one where like
oh
the guy was
god,
like on a crime spree and like live streaming it.
wow,
Like
yeah.
there was some shit that was going on where I was just like, what the fuck are they doing? Like this is crazy. But
Yeah, it probably will eventually get shut down by, yeah, like someone going on like a mass like killing spree or something. Like I could see someone like fucking being degenerate enough to do that.
so
You know?
at some point, like, do you think we'll see like a dark web exchange? Like if they regulate the shit out of everything and just
Mhm.
make it to where it's impossible, you can't even have like a wallet where you custody your own coins and stuff. Like
Yeah.
regulations have advanced and they've just totally squashed the industry and made it part of the regular legacy finance industry. Like, do you ever see a point where like there's going to be like a dark web degen casino exchange, like where it's
Hmm.
paired with Monero? Like all these coins are like paired against Monero.
That's interesting. Like a Kraken, for example, or are you
Yeah, like
talking
a
like more?
Kraken, but like an underground one, like on the dark
Ah,
web.
I mean, the problem with that is there would be a lot of trust involved. I don't know if you could have an order book with like darknet stuff. That's pretty hard to manage there because you'd have to like I don't know, maybe if you had like some multi-sig scheme, it could maybe make it work. I mean, as it is right now, we have like peer-to-peer exchanges on darknet, so it does seem to be somewhat inevitable that we will have like more and more activity on Tor, just by virtue of like future crackdowns. Like, to be honest with you, I'm not sure how much longer Twitter is going to exist. Like they kind of threw us a bone over the past year. Like they've kind of limited the amount of censorship. I think they're going to start cracking down again eventually at a certain point because that's just they can't allow people to be talking about certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree
So,
they've already started. Like we've
Yeah,
seen Elon like banning people and like do like a 180 on his free speech
yeah.
commitment. So
Yeah. I think they're gonna they like gave us a little bit, and now they're gonna start cracking down, kind of thing. I mean, at a certain point, the internet's gonna be so regulated. I was actually talking to my dad about this the other day, where I was just like, like 40 years in the future, they're gonna be like, people are gonna be shocked that we allowed kids on the internet. Like, there's gonna be like you're gonna need to have like a license to go on the internet. I really think that is where we're heading. Where like they're just not even gonna allow like regular people to go on there unless you like show your proof of that you're going on. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that seems to be like what they want long term, right? But in the meantime, we do have like these ways of like spreading the gospel, right? And at least that's why I'm on Twitter now. But I do probably should have to like make a Mastodon or something. I gotta start like spreading my accounts out, because at a certain point, like on YouTube, for example, on my podcast, I have to censor myself. Like I can't like go in on like certain topics, because like if I would, I would get banned on YouTube basically.
yeah. That's
Right.
why I'm not on YouTube at all. Like I self-host
Yeah.
this. There's a app called like Castopod, right? It's
Oh
like
yeah.
WordPress, but you can like self-host your own podcast. And I
Yeah. I gotta
self-host
look
this
into
on
that.
my own server so that nobody can ban me.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I gotta look into that stuff, because at a certain point, well, I mean, like for, next week, I'm gonna start putting my podcast as like a weekly download. So I'll
Yeah,
have to I'll have to look into that. Yeah, I mean, the thing is like that's kind of like the unfortunate like trade off though, is because I'm trying to reach as many people as possible. So right now I'm working on like building my cult following over the next couple of years. I'm going to be grinding, and then
yeah.
at a certain point, I can like, okay, fuck YouTube. I dark net market maximalism might get my YouTube taken down. I think that's a little edgy. We'll see what happens with
Are
that.
you on Odyssey or like Rumble or BitChute or
Yeah,
like any
I'm
of
on.
these other like
I'm
YouTube
on.
alternatives that are a little
Yeah,
more lenient?
yeah, I'm on Odyssey and Rumble.
Nice.
Yeah. So I post links to those. Yeah, when I right now what I'm doing is I'm posting on Twitter whenever I have a new YouTube video.
Yeah.
Soon I'm gonna have a website. That should be next week. I should have the website up.
Cool.
Once I have the website, then that'll make things easier for people, because they could just you can do the RSS feed, right, and you don't even have to go to the website. Like it'll
Yeah.
be super easy. Um, but yeah, right now I'm just grinding, trying to build up the community.
Yeah. What do you think about Rumble, man? Like Tether just bought it basically. Which so now,
Um,
I mean, think
uh,
what you will of Tether, they're still like Bitcoiners and crypto people. So like,
yeah.
do you think that's gonna make it like better than YouTube or one of these other like
Uh,
more
well,
censorship prone places?
that's news to me. I didn't know that Tether bought Rumble. Yeah, I will say Rumble is a little. It's actually very easy to use, except for the weird channel versus profile video thing. Have you run into that issue over there? It's hard to
I'm
explain.
on Rumble, but I barely use it.
Yeah.
Like I did like have to make a channel, and that yeah, there is like a difference between your profile and your.
I don't. I haven't figured out what the difference is yet, but
I think your
I have to.
profile is just you, and then your channel, like you
Yeah.
can have more
Well,
than one
look,
channel. So
that's what I
that's
was doing.
kind
I
of
was
yeah,
uploading yeah, I was uploading stuff on my profile, and then I found out, oh, I can have a channel, and I'm like, why isn't that the same thing? And I got really confused, and I'm like, ah, screw it. So now I have a profile on the channel. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. But regarding Rumble, like, I think it's pretty okay. Like, it's very quick, very fast. Um, it works pretty well. Odyssey's kind of buggy for me, to be honest. Take like when I upload videos on Odyssey, it takes like a little longer.
okay.
Although I get spammy comments on Rumble,
Yeah, I
like
get a shitload of spammy comments on Rumble for sure.
yeah, there's some like server from Mumbai that's like constantly attacking attacking Rumble with like, no, go, I'll work for you kind of stuff. Like, dude, shut the fuck, you know. Like, yeah. So I have to like basically most of my work on Rumble is uploading and then deleting comments. So yeah.
What do you think about like the fact that these other platforms don't really get you views? Like, I guess like
Yeah.
on YouTube, you that's where the audience is, right? So
100%. Yeah, and that's why I'm on YouTube. I'm just building a cult.
yeah,
And unfortunately, I have to do it through YouTube. And yeah, we'll see what happens after I launch darknet market maximalism. I think it's like I'm not endorsing going on darknet market, so like I'm not doing anything illegal, but
Yeah.
it's yeah,
They censor shit that really isn't even controversial, so who knows?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, man, is there anything else you wanted to promote?
No, as we've already talked about, you can go to antimoonboy.com. That should be up next week. But if not, I'm on YouTube. Just look up Anti Moonboy or Odyssey and Rumble. Again, look up Anti Moonboy. It's the guy on the horse. You'll see it. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the content I put out so far. I got a podcast every week that drops usually on Monday called Anti Moonboy News. You can also check out Attack of the Poison Outputs if you want to learn more about privacy and how Monero works. And yeah, upcoming in probably April, that's what I'm targeting. I'll be launching Darknet Market Maximalism, which is another series, which is going to be my manifesto about crypto.
Nice. Hey, I want you to start self-hosting your podcast so I don't have to go to YouTube anymore, man.
Yeah, I
If I could
know.
just pop you into my RSS feed for my podcasts, that would be sick.
Yeah, because well, what's gonna happen is the website I have has an RSS built into it. So literally you just right there, and then you can just go to the RSS, and I'll have the Odyssey link too. You can probably get a wrapper too, and just like click it and have it just play through MPV if you want to. So
Yeah, like right now, what I've been doing is I use this app called FreeTube, right? So I can like watch
okay,
YouTube videos without them
yeah,
harvesting my data.
yeah,
And I've been watching you that way, but it doesn't play nice with Mulvad, the VPN. Like
yeah.
YouTube has just been blocking. Like
Dude,
it didn't used to be this way, but they block like every Mulvad IP now.
I actually have had the same problem recently because I usually go on walks and I use NewPipe to listen to like
Okay.
podcasts. Yeah, because on my phone, and I can't listen to it anymore. So I have to listen to shit on the ClearNet when I go on
I had the
walks.
same problem. Check this out. There's a fork of
Yeah.
new pipe called Pipe Pipe,
Okay.
and Pipe Pipe works with
Oh
Mulvad
yeah,
still. Yeah, I switched from new pipe to Pipe Pipe because the same
I'll
shit
have to check
happened to
that
me.
out. Is it on what is it F Droid or
Yeah, yeah, it should be
I'll
on
get the
F-Droid.
APK somewhere. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's called
I'll check
Pipe
it out.
Pipe.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's like the exact same app too. It's just like a fork. It looks the same and everything, but it just works. Whereas new pipe stopped
Oh,
working
cool.
for me. Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah. But yeah, dude, like that'd be sick if you get an RSS feed. Like I wish more Monero people would have RSS feeds on their blogs and websites and podcasts and shit. So I don't have to go to all these different places to
No,
consume their content.
yeah, I need more people getting mad at me. It'll motivate me to get this done. I've been like freaking lazy with the website, but like yeah, RSS feed absolutely. That's coming soon. I won't let you down.
Are you like you said you weren't like super technical with the Linux stuff. Are you like
Yeah.
a coder guy, or is that like why
No.
you're not doing the website
No.
so much because you're just like fuck?
No, I mean, there was laziness there for sure. Cause like I have made a website in the past, but then
Okay.
this time, cause I need to like do it right. Cause like I got Monero people looking on. I gotta like, I gotta do it correctly. And there were two things that were holding me up. The first is I wanted to use Hugo because it's more minimalist and like more stripped down. Like the site design I have is like very stripped. It's exactly what I want. Like
Okay.
I like a very minimalist design. So it's
Okay.
exactly what I want. But the other thing that was holding me up was I want to have a merch site because I'm going to be dropping some merch with the Darknet Market Maximalism drop.
Okay.
It's going to be sick. But like I ran into an issue of like, how do I do that through the website? And then it was like a whole thing. I'm like reading about all this crap. So I have a workaround. I think I'm just going to use XMR Bazaar, and I'm just going to like have the sites through there, and you can just buy it directly through me, and I'll ship it to you. I think that would be the best of both worlds. So that's what I'm trying to do at least. That was the holdup because I was like trying to figure out how to do a merch store, and I think I'm just gonna support the community, and support another website, and also like have a peer to peer way of like buying my stuff.
Cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome, man.
yeah,
Do you think like Havino Reto,
yeah.
the like version of Havino right now that's got all the liquidity, do you think that the fact that like there's wild discrepancies in the price, like on Reto compared to like other places, that's good or bad?
It's more reflective of just, non KYC. There's less, when you're dealing with through centralized exchanges, there's like it's all based on each other for the most part. I mean, you see like a price discrepancy on Trade Ogre with Monero prices or the BTC ratio. Like it's just kind of the market and the street price, right? So I mean, I don't really see that as a bad thing. It's more of a reflection of like if you're acquiring non-Monero, non KYC Monero, it's different. You're going to be going through different avenues, right?
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like basically, the path of least resistance that I've seen that most people that are like in Monero use is like they'll buy Litecoin or like Bitcoin or Tether or some shit
Yeah.
from like Coinbase or some other centralized exchange, and then they just swap it on a swapper for Monero,
Yep. Yep.
which is no KYC kind of. I guess you're like putting up KYC to get the first crypto, but once you
Yeah.
swap it, you're kind of like,
Yeah, exactly. So like I have an episode on Attack of the Poison Outputs about this where like I actually go to the CoinSwap websites and look at their privacy policy, and you can see that they're just harvesting transaction data on people. So like you are like putting yourself in the weeds, especially if like you're using Tor. So like if you're like accessing Truckador through Tor and you're like swapping your Litecoin for it, I mean that's like pretty solid. Like you're pretty much okay, especially if you're like a low hanging fruit. I wouldn't really worry too much about it. But like, yeah, if you have high in OPSEC, like you are kind of leaving around stuff, little tidbits, and that stuff does add up.
yeah.
So, yeah, like a lot of people just kind of like throw it in Cakewallet and swap it. Cakewallet necessarily isn't holding on to that data, but the swapping services,
The partners that they use might
yes,
be, because
they
I
are.
think they even like might KYC.
Some of them do for large amounts for sure. Yeah, but like yeah, if you're not paying attention, like the sites that you're using, the third party sites attached to Cake Wallet, they will save that information. And Cake Wallet itself, they do save information on you as well. Not a lot, but like compared to these third party sites. But I mean, if they were subpoenaed, like they're gonna obey the law. They have to, or else they'd be thrown in jail.
Yeah. And then I guess my last question uh would be like with Havino and Bisq for that matter, like do you feel like the UI is too difficult for people to use these platforms?
No. I mean, my experience with Rado has been pretty easy. I mean, there is a learning curve for sure. You have to do a little research. I actually was going to make a video for them as like a walkthrough. I might still be doing that. I haven't. I gotta follow up on that actually.
Even
But
if they don't want to pay
uh,
you, you should do that just for like people that have never
yeah,
used
I
it.
actually that might be a good idea, but I want to get paid.
Yeah.
But no. It's kind of they actually got rid of the whole recently they got rid of having to put down like a security, right? I
Okay.
think they did. I haven't used it like in the past couple of weeks, but like I tweeted that out. Um so like it really you just have to like, put in your information. Like if you are using like Zelle or something, you have to use that. Or I mean you could use you could do by mail. You can even meet up in person. It's not like as easy as a KYC exchange. Like you kind of have to get used to it. You got to find a guy probably. You got to find somebody who's like willing to like maybe trade with you larger amounts. But
Yeah.
that just comes down to like building up a reputation on the website and you know uh, I really don't think it's that hard for people to get into. But yeah, it's the reason why Redo is not used as much as Litecoin, CoinSwap to Monero. Well, it's because it is harder. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But that comes with a price of having less privacy.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking back like with your analogy of like the mechanic that
Yeah.
just Googles and all that kind of thing.
Ah,
Like, like they
yeah.
can't even like figure out how to get Monero. Like I see it like on
Yeah.
Reddit and like, like Dread and like these places, like you always see these people
Mm,
posting like, how do you get Monero? And like if they can't even like cross that
yeah.
bridge on their own,
They're not. Yeah, they're not going to use Redo. Yeah, they're gonna buy on Coinbase and then use Cake Wallet, which
Yeah.
is actually the main way people get cryptocurrency or get Monero for darknets. I'm pretty convinced. Like built-in exchange wallets are super super easy to use, and that's just path of least resistance. That's what's going to be used.
Yeah.
So, but we have for people who need heightened OPSEC alternatives, and that for me, I think that's really all that matters. And plus, like, man, back in like 2016, it was hard to get Monero. Like, it wasn't simple. Like having all these CoinSwap services is like super easy. Like it's never been easier really to get Monero. Um, so yeah, the mechanic, he's gonna have trouble regardless. If it's not related to cars, he has no idea what's going on. So
Yeah, fair enough, man.
yeah,
Well, it's been wonderful talking to you, man. We did 2.5 hours. This was an amazing conversation.
awesome.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was great.
Indeed. I'd like to have you back at some point. So when you get something noteworthy that you want to talk about, hit me up and I'll have you back on the show.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, man.
All right, yeah, be easy.
You too.